Thank you. Now keep in mind, as the judge, he's basically the intermediary between the two. He's like a referee, but he cannot give legal advice. It's a good thing that you did. It's been crazy. But if you missed any of the other days, guys, they're on my YouTube, Michelle's Criminal Musings. So we have day 1 through 5 already up. And I'll be putting this one up after we're done with the live as well. I still can't believe she's trying to call Charles' son up there. She couldn't even call him to say, your dad is no longer with us. She texted him days later. You're welcome. You know, okay. It wouldn't be the first time she's tried to pin something on Tylee, 100%. That's why some of us are really concerned when she gets to talk so freely about Tylee. Oh, it's okay, you're fine. The next detective.
There'll be a PowerPoint that he's going to do.
All right, sir, come on up. You're going to stand right here and be sworn in.
You do solemnly swear that testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. All right, have a seat up here to my left.
Lucid, that's a really good question. I don't think they can be unless she does something to open the door. I honestly don't know. Oh no. Oh no. If you gotta take some time away, don't worry. The live will be up on YouTube later. He don't look familiar. Me either. You mean just like she claimed Joseph Ryan was abusive too? I'm still not. You guys know how I feel about coincidences, and literally almost a complete duplication of what happened to Joseph Ryan happened to Charles Vallow. Just the causes.
I do need to give the court reporter a break soon. Should we just do that now?
This might be a good time, Your Honor, just so I can get this set up and hooked.
All right, when we have the jury, go to the jury room for a short break.
All right, the jury.
He's giving the court reporter a short break. You've never done this before, sir. Any other day.
Sidebar, the defendant indicated she wanted to question the witness further regarding how many times the witness had observed her and her demeanor, which
Thank
would
you.
necessitate the witness talking about observing her here in this trial, observing her on July 11th of 2019, as well as the trial in Idaho, and possible viewing of interviews or social media posts. I advised the defendant that this is probably not a door she wants to open because the setting of those interviews would be relevant. For example, someone appearing in court intuitively might behave better than someone who's not appearing in court or in a trial. And the defendant said she would move on from that area. Is that an accurate recitation of the sidebar from the state's perspective, from the defendant's perspective?
Yes, Your Honor. That's fine.
All right, and then we did another sidebar regarding jury questions at 11:01 a.m. The first question, juror question number 10, as a detective, does your subconscious mind use a witness demeanor as any type of evidence? The parties agreed with me that that's probably not an appropriate question to ask, so it was not asked. Juror form question number 11 was asked. That was the question as to whether the rental car was ever searched.
And in case you guys missed it, Daryl Brooks on his appeal just recently fired his attorney, so he's representing himself on his appeal for multi-life sentences.
Juror question 12 was also asked I should mention, by agreement of the parties. And this was the question: if the defendant and her daughter were interviewed as witnesses, and the explanation between being interviewed or considered a victim versus a witness, which the witness answered. Question form 13 had 4 questions on it. The first question was not asked: did Lori ever ask for an attorney during interviews of her and Ty Lee? The second question: did Lori express concerns about police talking with Ty Lee at the time of the interview? Neither side objected to that question, so it was asked. Question number 3 on form 13: do police need parental consent to speak with a minor, even if
something's going on for a Dallas high school? Where are you hearing that?
Being treated as a witness. Which,
Sandra, can you look into it?
The answer really is it depends, but it calls for a legal conclusion too for that witness. The state objected to it. The defendant did not. I didn't think it would be helpful with the jury in deciding any
An
issue
active
that's
event?
a fact in this case. So it was not asked. And then the fourth question on that form number 13, does law enforcement have to advise interviewees they are being audio?
I'll let this play in the background so we could hear it, but I'm going to look up to see the active event because
video recorded, neither side objected to that.
obvious
That
reasons.
question was asked. Is that an accurate representation of the sidebar we had at 11:01
Yes, Your Honor.
from the defense perspective?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so let's give the court reporter a break. We'll resume soon, probably about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we'll push through to noon or maybe a few minutes after, depending on where
I
we're
see
at.
it
Do you
now.
have everything set up now?
I would like to just try to make sure it's working.
All right, we'll be at recess on a break for about 10 to 15 minutes.
So 10 to 15 minute break starting now. And we're now watching the massive police presence at Dallas High School. Students evacuated.
Well, I can't report on anything that
If
is
you know anyone that's in the Dallas area, please share this out so they're aware of the situation.
happening or might happen. But again, I think that the Trump administration and Secretary Marco Rubio have proven their commitment to these kinds of issues in a way that no other administration, frankly, has in facing these dynamics all around the globe, especially with the nature of
Ma'am, I thought this was about the high school. We don't politic.
the kinds of carnage and the relentlessness. So while I can't speak to you about specifics, I think that we all know what this administration stands for. Yes, in the blue jacket.
Two questions, briefly. One is in regard of the visit of the Jordanian Prime Minister.
This has nothing to do with that. They need to fix their titling.
If you can tell us a little bit about the topics that are going to be discussed.
No.
I'm assuming the council.
Yeah, I'm not the
No,
policy
it's so
person.
nice. It's so nice. So the
Wilderness Hutchins High School. Okay. Live. I don't know. It wasn't the right one. Wilderness.
Needed to be. I'm told that we have one of our reporters who is there just getting to the scene, Tiffany Liu. She is just getting there. Tiffany, I know we have you on the phone right now. I know you're just getting there, but can you give us a sense of what you're seeing and hearing right now?
Hey, Chris, I actually am not there, but I have been talking to sources with Dallas Fire Rescue in the last 15 minutes, and they're telling me that this is a full active shooter call. That means they're calling multiple apparatuses there, about probably 25, from ambulances to engines, anything of that sort. This is a full-on active shooter call that's heading to Wilmer Hutchins. According to my fire sources, there were multiple shots heard inside the building. Obviously, all this information is still very fluid. Some hearing 3 to 6 shots were heard, being told that there is a student that was shot in the leg who is apparently in stable condition. Unsure if there are any more people who were shot at this time. But we're being told that police are clearing the school right now. It is on lockdown, and students and I believe staff are sheltering in place. But again, all this is very fluid information. That's just what I'm getting from my Dallas Fire Rescue sources at this time.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Tiffany. And as as you're able to talk a little bit more to the folks that you're on the line with, we'll check back in with you and try to get some more information. But I want to reiterate the fact that going through the school before they're going to give it all clear, that is a very thorough and meticulous process, and it really involves covering every inch of that school.
They're looking, first of all, for people to make sure everyone's safe. Second of all, they're looking for evidence to make sure if there is a scene there or in multiple places that they block that off. Back to what Tiffany said, too, though, this is a full active shooter call. That's what the police and fire, that's how they respond to these situations. And as you know from covering these too, Chris, that essentially means send everything, and if it's not that bad, we'll bring it back. But we want everything on scene just in case it is that bad. Fortunately, it does not look like this at this point. We're also seeing here, on the helicopter, students walking, different groups of students. These are likely different classes walking out, and they're spread all around this campus. It's a huge campus on the southeast side of the city of Dallas, at Interstate 20 and Interstate 45. But there are some back at the stadium. There are some out in front of the school as well. They're spread everywhere. Again, it's very important to point out here one thing. No one's running. There isn't that fear that you see in a lot of these other situations. It looks like at this hour here, at almost 2 o'clock, the situation is secure. And to reiterate what Dallas ISD is asking us, they're asking parents at this time that the scene's secure, they're saying, but they're also saying, do not come down here just yet. Let us get a handle of this. Let us figure out where everyone is first. This is some pretty compelling helicopter video we're watching here. It's not unusual to see this. It looks like students or people coming out with their hands up. These situations are not unusual. Police officers, like you said, sweeping the building. They're trying to get a handle on what they're seeing here, find out who's who. And it's not unusual for them to ask people to raise their hands for everyone's protection.
No, I mean, in a situation like this, naturally emotions are running high. The blood is up. It's running on.
Guys, if you know anyone that's in the area or has kids that are in the area, please share this out so they know that they're going to be asking people to stay clear of the area and going to the Reconnect Center. I cannot remember the word for that right now.
On all sides, and what they just want to make sure, to have students come out this way, is to say, hey, I'm not a threat here, and that allows the police to sort of clear them, get them the
Wilmer Hutchins High School in Dallas. Thank you, reunification.
And sort of continue the work, but making sure that the rest of the school is secure.
I remember last year after this happened on the same campus, the superintendent of Dallas ISD, Stephanie Elizalde, just heartbroken that this could have happened. I believe that last year it happened outside near the stadium. But clearly there is an issue if once again, 1 year later, we're having a firearm inside when there are metal detectors that are supposed to prevent these things. I mean, that's the peace of mind that parents have when they send their child to school. Listen, they're going in there, but at least there's somebody on the front at the perimeter making sure no one walks in with any type of a weapon.
How?
Yeah, and again, I mean, it was something that that Albert Martinez, the police chief for Dallas ISD, that he addressed, and he said, "Look, this was in some ways we failed.
Yeah.
Any time that
And guys, they're on break for Lori Daybell. They're on break right now.
this day and age, with the protocols that are in place, there has been a breakdown at some point, whether it be technical, whether it be human error, but there has been a breakdown because that's not supposed to happen. And he talked
Gates.
about
If we could put gates around our prisons, why can we not put them around our high schools? If we can put gates around the White House, why can't we put them around high schools? Have people get buzzed in, have to have IDs to even get onto school property. Just my opinion, though.
as we take a look there, as Jason mentioned, students are coming from different areas of the school, and we see another large group being let out right there.
And just to reset, if you're just not joining us, exactly what's going on here, there has been a shooting. There was apparently one student who was shot in the leg there at Wilmer Hutchins High School. This is on the southeast side of the city of Dallas at Interstate 20 and Interstate 45. The student, we understand, is stable, is not a critical situation from what we understand at this point. But police, of course, are evacuating the entire school. There's still students coming out. We saw from the helicopter a few moments ago with what's happening
I was
there.
getting ready to message you.
Bottom line here, too, is this is the second time in 1 year at the same campus there has been a child shot at that school. There will be tons of questions about how another firearm got into that school. You mentioned the police chief, Albert Martinez from Dallas ISD Schools, and he was talking about last year.
They did say that there are metal detectors in there.
To the day, a year ago, Dallas ISD trustee Maxie Johnson held a whole community forum to talk about what had happened at Wilmer Hutchins, to go over parents' concerns and to try to come to some consensus about, hey, we need to make this as safe as possible so that when you drop your kids off in the morning, they're going to be safe, until they leave that school. And for parents who are obviously, scared to death with what they're seeing here, what they're hearing, and the phone calls and texts they're probably getting from their children, Dallas ISD is asking us to share that parents should not go to campus just yet. There are students kind of in every direction. There are staff members in every direction. The police are trying to get a handle on exactly what they're dealing with, how many scenes they have there, how many suspects there might be involved in this. And because of that, they're saying, listen, parents, let us get a handle on this first, and then we'll have a place for you to reunify with your child. And
Kim, I'm not sure what in the hell you're talking about, but right now we're talking about a school pew-pewing. Let's have a little bit more respect and a little bit more class than that.
I'm told, I mentioned earlier, we have crews heading there to the scene. Jobin Puneker is now there live at Wilmer Hutchins High School. Jobin, can you bring us up to speed on what you're seeing and hearing right now?
Yeah, Chris, we just rolled up on scene here. It is gridlock in and around the school. We're on the north end of this campus. There's a parking lot. You can hear more law enforcement as they're coming down the road. You can actually see a long line, and I'm sure you have a better vantage point. You have a better vantage point from the chopper. Just how many law enforcement vehicles we have here. I think we're counting closer to 40 to 50 to 60. We've seen DART police here. We see Dallas County sheriffs. We see Dallas police as well. They obviously, it's on lockdown right now. You have a whole bunch of parents that are sort of waiting around to see what's happening. They're communicating with their.
Keep in mind, guys, with Lori, we can get a few minutes because then we'll just have that extra time to fast forward.
Children, making sure that they're okay. There were a few children that were already on the outskirts of the campus, and they have been reunited with their family members. I've got Adante here. Adante,
You're already interviewing
step in
kids?
here for a minute here, and Adante is a senior here at Wilmer Hutchins. We talked with your mom. Your mom's okay with us talking with you. First of all, where were you when this was all happening?
I was in the foyer with my principal, Miss Gilliard, and Miss Foster, along with my band director, Mr. Woodhouse, and 2 of my band members.
Okay. And did you hear something? Did you hear a commotion?
We were standing there talking, and we heard a few gunshots, and we were still standing there, confused, and then we heard more, saw a few students running, heard a few screams, and we had to go and take
This is at Dallas. Wilmer Hutchins High School.
cover back in the band room.
Could you tell where those gunshots were coming from?
I would say on the main street or the cafeteria, somewhere in that area.
Okay, and you're in the foyer, and where is that in relation to the campus?
Like right when you walk into the campus through the main doors, it's an open area.
If you can, sort of set the scene for us. What did it look like in the,
All we know
inside the
is
campus
shots fired.
building?
We don't
What were
know
the students doing? I'm
details.
assuming there's
Someone
a lot of
has been
commotion, a
shot.
lot of chaos.
Yeah, it happened around lunchtime, so we're just in the foyer, a few students in there just talking, and all of a sudden it got quiet and you just hearing gunshots.
Yeah. Again, I'm so sorry that you're having to deal with this. I know this is not easy, and this is now 2 years in a row that you have to deal with this. Were you here on that day when we had another shooting that was a targeted shooting? One student shot another student in the leg. Were you there for that?
Yes, I was here. I was also in the band room with my band directors.
What's going through your mind as you're now seeing 2 events in a row where we have major events, where we have a shooter on campus?
It's kind of scary thinking that it would have been better from last year's shooting, but things happen, and just really scared.
Yeah. Anything you can tell me about? So, how did you get to come out and reunite with your mom?
I was in the band room, and the Dallas police officers came through. They told everybody to come out with their hands up, and we walked outside, and I saw my mom and just reunited with her.
Okay. This is Adante. He's a senior. I appreciate you for talking with us again. I know this is not easy, and it's going to be several hours before we figure out what exactly has happened here. But Adante just told us he heard several rounds of fire inside, away from the foyer, in one of the main rooms. Again, this was during lunchtime. Again, just to set the scene here, traffic is still coming through. Most of it is law enforcement. And again, we're seeing more and more police cars come through here. We've got Dallas Fire Rescue, Dallas Police, a lot of undercover units as well here. So this campus has 2 separate parking lots. You have a main lot and you have a lot on the west end. It feels like, or at least looks like, a lot of the law enforcement is centered around this western lot.
This one
so
feels
we don't know
different.
if something has happened there. We don't know if that's where our victims may be. So we're still trying to get a grasp of what's happening here.
That's good detail, Jobin. Thanks so much for that. It's important, Chris, to point out that he's talking about seeing a lot of law enforcement, Dallas ISD Police, DART Transit Police, Dallas County, and also Dallas Police.
There was a lot.
But also, there's more police than there are paramedics. Again, minor details here. More paramedics would suggest to you and I that there might be more people injured. That doesn't appear to be the situation right now. Cole Sullivan is also live with us right now. Cole, tell us where you are and what you're seeing so far.
South of the high school. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see what we're seeing right here. This is the police presence from where we are right here. You can see that there's fire trucks and paramedics that we have seen in this area too. We saw a couple of paramedics leave in the last few minutes or so. We don't know if there was anybody in those ambulances, but you can just see the flashing lights here with this response as well. You can also see, if we pan over to the left a little bit, you can see over here on the left some of the first responders who are here. You're watching this live right now. The first responders who are here on this side of the high school as well. And as we keep going over further to the left here, we see the football field over here as well, who has got, you can see some of the players who are on the football, or excuse me, some of the students who are on the football field right over there as well. You can see that's where there's a rally area that's been set up, it seems, for students from this school to move over in that direction. We see law enforcement headed over in that direction as well. We're talking to some of the parents and students who are here waiting, who have left the campus. I spoke with one 9th grader who says that she was heard that gunshot, similar to the student that Jobin was talking about. She says she heard one shot from her classroom. She says that the teacher went to the door, locked the door immediately, got all of the students in the corner, she says, and said that she told, the teacher told them that he would protect them, that they were his number one priority to keep them safe in that moment. That teacher told that girl and her classmates to call their parents and tell them what was going on and tell them that they were okay. That's why you see so many parents here who are got those frantic calls from their students about a shooting that reportedly happened inside this school here. And that's why you've seen this response as well. I was talking with that 9th grade student who says that she was scared, understandably. She said she was emotional. She called her mom in that moment to tell her that she was okay. She was grateful for the teacher saying that he would protect her if anything were to happen. She heard that one shot, and similar to the student that Jobin was talking about, she says that shot sounded like it came from near the cafeteria. She doesn't know if there were more shots. We don't know at this point if there were more shots, but she says, similar to the student Jobin was talking to, that shot came from somewhere near the cafeteria area, which was close to where her classroom was, and left to go be with her family. Now she's happy to be back with her family. You can imagine her family is happy to have her as well. We'll keep you updated on what we learned. For now, back to you.
Greater feeling, Cole, than as a parent that to know your child is safe. Hey, we're going to let you go and do a little bit more work and talk to who you need to talk to. But I want to loop Jobin Puneker back in and bring him back into the conversation. Jobin, have you been able to talk with any of the parents that may have shown up there? I know there's been there is a reunification, and Jason, you touched on the fact Dallas ISD was asking parents, don't come to the school just yet. But I think we got Jobin now. Have you been able to talk to anyone there about what's happening or what they're seeing?
Well, Chris, if that message is out there from the district, these parents are not heeding that, and I think we can all understand.
I understand that
we want to see our loved ones, we want to see our children, and so yes, people are still coming up to find their children, reunify with their children. Shauna Williams has 2 children. We're going to talk with her briefly. You have 2 children.
Yes.
At this school.
Yes.
How did you hear about it? Was it a text message? I mean, you've heard that was on.
Someone called me. He was outside running, and he said that gunshots was over his head or something he was saying, and then he was just getting from Career Institute. Okay. And then he went in the cafeteria. He saw 2 of his friends get shot.
Oh my God!
You're saying your son's 2 friends were shot in the cafeteria?
Yes, that's what he said.
And have you had a chance to talk with him?
My son? Yeah, my son is over there.
And how is, I'm assuming he's shocked?
They shocked. They shook it up. My oldest one was crying. And then my other one, he called me, and I work at the school, and I had to come race over here and see what's going on because he scared me. I was so scared. Yeah, I was.
As a parent, you're hearing about how close these shootings are now to us.
And this was like last year, the same time. Happened the same time last year. Yeah.
We know about the school having metal detectors. We know that they have clear bag policies.
They do. And even the badges, they have to wear the badges. But I don't see how they could have got in the building. I don't see how they could have got, because it's secured. When I come up here to get them, and they always check for my badge and ID and everything. So I don't know how they could have got in the school building.
It feels like you're in a state of just shock, bewilderment, all the things.
I had to drive here safely because I was about to pass out.
Why pass out?
Because my son was screaming and hollering like he was in a range of fire. That's why I had to rush from my job and come up here and see what he was, because I got 2 sons.
2 sons who go here.
Yeah, 2 sons who go here.
We're starting to see a whole bunch of parents now trying to find their children. Explain to us how a parent is feeling in this moment.
Everybody was frantic. My car is way down at the end, and along with some other parents, we had to walk all the way to the stadium. That's how eager we wanted to get to our kids.
This is a shooting at Wilmer Hutchins High School in Dallas.
It's sad.
Speak to that if you can. Just the nature of these school shootings, that they're happening over and over and over again. This happened almost a year ago, exactly to the day.
Yes, and it's traumatizing. I mean, I be at work and I have to stop everything I'm doing because my baby's like, "Mama, come get me, come get me." And I was like, oh my God. So I just had to leave work real fast and come get them. And the same thing happened last year around about this time. I was at work and I was frantic. It's the parents' worst nightmare.
Shauna, that is such a tough feeling to feel, and I'm sure you're feeling a lot of things right now.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping the best for you, and I'm hoping that you had a chance to talk with your children through what they just witnessed.
I'm trying to put them in homeschool because I can't take another round of this. This is horrifying, and it's just sad, because somebody had to go through this, but their kids being shot. That's a parent's worst nightmare.
Absolutely. A lot of, a nightmare unfolding here at Wilmer Hutchins. Yet again, another shooting. Again, we're still limited on a lot of the details, but right now, again, we still have traffic going in and out. They're not going to go much past here. Again, we have 2 parking lots that are now filled with law enforcement vehicles. School's still on lockdown, will be on lockdown for quite a while.
Yeah.
Jobin, thanks for that info.
They have them.
You get chills
Kimberly, they have them.
listening to Shauna there, the parent he was just talking to a moment ago about the call she got from her child. And then, saying that this happened last year. Now I'm thinking about homeschooling my child because of what happened. It's heartbreaking to hear that. We do have an update from Rebecca Lopez, our senior crime and justice reporter here. She's very well sourced with police sources across North Texas. She is telling us that she's hearing from sources this is no longer an active shooter, as Chris and I mentioned a moment ago. She also says, this is an important detail, SWAT was not called to the scene here. The scene is under control, and South Central Patrol, that is the precinct of Dallas Police in the South Central part of the city, it is now helping out Dallas ISD. So the important thing with that, SWAT not being called there, that means this is moving from active shooter now to the investigative stage to find out exactly what happened here.
And I want to bring in John Matthews, who is an expert.
I really hope that they verified that before saying that.
You hear us on the line there?
Yes, I can hear fine.
John, the fact that SWAT, what Jason and what Rebecca just learned, that SWAT was not called out, by the tempo of this, by the fact that we're not seeing students and teachers and police officers running across the campus, what does that overall tell you about the incident at this point in time?
Well, it would lead me to believe that the suspect is either in custody or has been neutralized at this time. If you're not calling a tactical team in to take care of the situation, if there's not a lot of panic going on, then they're moving from the active shooter part of the investigation into the crime scene investigation. They're going to be securing all of the students. The number one task for law enforcement right now is to make sure that there's no further threat to students, teachers, parents, no further danger in the school. So they're going to be securing the school, securing the students, and then starting their investigation.
John, we always appreciate your expertise, but unfortunately we have to talk to you about...
We really don't know anything other than what they're saying right now.
We spoke to you last year at this time when the last shooting happened here on this same campus. And in that situation, there was a student who got a firearm through a metal detector without the detector alerting any of the school officials. And now here we have a similar situation. We don't yet know the details about whether someone went through a metal detector or not. That still hasn't been sorted out here. But Dallas ISD was promising at the time, listen, we're going to do a full investigation. We're going to figure out what our vulnerabilities are, and we're going to figure this out. Here we are, a year later, same situation, terrified parents here going to the campus rushing to get their children.
Happened.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've seen this over and over again. I've literally done hundreds of assessments at districts all over the nation, and unfortunately, it's very, very easy to get a firearm.
This is WFAA on YouTube.
On campus. If the metal detectors are not working properly, if they're not set properly, if they're not monitored, or other areas of ingress and egress in the school where there's not metal detectors. I had one school I visited where the kids knew the hours of when the metal detectors were monitored and simply brought the guns in off hours. So,
John, let me ask you this. What needs to happen then? You see this over and over. What needs to happen then to better harden these schools?
Not everybody
Well,
can.
I think they've got to
Keep
do
that
a
in mind,
very
though.
good and thorough assessment, and then if they find deficiencies, they've got to close the gap. All too often we see deficiencies, and yet they're not corrected. So it's incumbent upon the school districts to be proactive, to do proactive assessments, and to correct the deficiencies. Those kids are in school every day. They see the routine, they know the routine, and those wanting to harm others have the ability to breach our security, unfortunately. So we've got to do a better job at target hardening.
Yeah,
I do
John,
too.
I mean,
Which you may not know this, but the Crumbleys, the father has now asked for a new trial as well.
into the job when the shooting happened at this time last year. That is not the case this time, so there will be probably a different standard. In terms of the information that we're getting about this incident, our investigative reporter Morgan Young has also been talking to some of her sources with the Dallas Police Department. They're telling her basically that this shooting occurred in the hallways inside the school, so not in the classroom, but in the hallways. Also confirming what we reported earlier, that one student was shot in the calf or leg area, and the initial belief that it could be gang related. Again, this is initial information. That is subject to change, but it is what we are hearing from our sources as they're getting the first reports from witnesses and talking to people who were there at the time.
John, before we let you go here, this appears by law enforcement standards to be a textbook response. There was mutual aid. Every police agency, nearby. I even saw a Wilmer police car there just a moment ago as well. So it appears to be a textbook response as far as that goes with what investigators knew at the time.
How are you, LT?
Well, we're all mandated to go through alert training, active shooter training. Every agency practices this training. We all know that when a shooting call comes out at a school or any other facility, that everybody responds. That you've got to get there quickly. You've got to neutralize the threat, and you've got to keep as many people safe from harm as possible. And I think it's great to see that law enforcement agencies are working together, cooperating to make sure they put students and staff first. And that's really, really important.
John, that's good insight. We always appreciate you. I know we're going to talk to you here in the coming hours as we get more information from Dallas Police and Dallas ISD, but we always appreciate your insight, sir. Thank you so much for that.
And we did just get confirmation from Dallas ISD that Wilmer Hutchins High School has been secured. I know that is what every mom, every dad, every guardian has been waiting to hear, that the campus is at this point secured. They are coming up with reunification plans right now. Those will be shared very shortly here. The only thing they ask is that you please have your photo ID handy. Again, they cannot just release children to anyone's custody who shows up at the school. So they're asking you, please bring your ID, and they should be ready to share some details on exactly where and when you can meet your child here coming up shortly.
And Jobin was already talking to some parents there and seeing some children who had reunified. Those are students, I believe, that maybe ran out the front door, but there are a number we're seeing right here that are around the stadium area, which is likely, some classes on the south end of the high school. The stadium is on the southern end of this high school. And just to give your bearings again, if you're just not joining us, this is happening at Wilmer Hutchins High School, which is in the southeast corner of Dallas. It is at the corner, essentially, of Interstate 20 and Interstate 45. Down on the southeast side.
Yeah, again, we have several crews there at the scene talking to the folks who are affected by this. I want to get back to Cole Sullivan to kind of loop us in on where you are, Cole, and what you're seeing and hearing at this point.
Yes.
And Chris, one of the most horrifying things about this for families who are here right now is this has happened before. A year ago, almost to the day, they came here.
Guys, now that we know that the scene is secured, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the courtroom that we were already in. We'll keep an eye on this. We'll check back to it again a little bit, but they did say that the high school is now secured. We don't have any other information on it other than that. I was just waiting for the secured part. I really hope that it's not 3 deceased. Not any deceased.
Told Detective Ann Clem that
just keep in mind the fact that we get to go back, that means when they go on lunch, that's less time that we got to sit there staring at the empty screen.
Oh, well, technically 2016, but the last 2 years of that was assigned as a field training officer, which means that if you were a new officer out of the academy or somebody going back to the road from specialty, you might ride with me for a while as I reoriented you to how things are done on the road. And then after doing that, I moved to the Special Victims Unit, primarily focused on investigating sex crimes from 2016 to 2020. And in 2020 and until now, I've been assigned to the Robbery Homicide Unit.
when you were with the Special Victims Unit, did you ever work with the Robbery Homicide Unit?
I did. In fact, from fairly early on, I was aware that this was something that I wanted to do eventually. So I made that known, and particularly working in detectives under the umbrella of persons crimes. You have your sex crimes, family crimes, robbery homicide units. And they all tend to work rather close together. They get to know one another. And I made it known that I had an interest in testing when they had their next opening. So I did that in late 2019 and began my assignment in 2020. So leading up to that, it was something where if I had the opportunity to work with that team, I would do so.
Can you talk to us, have you ever had any type of training in dealing with cell phones and cell phone GPS data?
Yes, I've had extensive training, much of it more recently. It's something that I certainly became aware of, and I have an interest in technology and what it can be used for in investigations. And so there were areas that I was aware of, particularly working in the Special Victims Unit, so starting from about 2016 on. It was in 2022 that I took my first 40-hour class on the proper interpretation, of cell phone records specifically that might come from the provider. There's an important distinction between the location data that might be found on one's phone versus the data that a provider stores about our devices that can also be used to infer the location of the device. I took a 40-hour class primarily on that subject in 2022, and then in 2023, I took a 40-hour class leading to eventually becoming a subject matter expert in that area.
Have you previously testified in court about cell phone GPS data?
I have.
Have you previously testified in court about mapping GPS data recovered from cell phones?
I have.
In July of 2019, were you still in the Special Victims Unit?
Yes, I was.
And did you become involved in a shooting that occurred on July 11th of 2019 at 5531 South Fort Peaks Avenue in Chandler?
I did.
How did you get involved in that?
I believe I was downstairs where we all work in a similar area and became aware that a shooting had occurred, that it appeared that one person was deceased, and I volunteered to come along. My capacity was more to shadow, to learn about how these investigations are conducted with the aim of testing. That's something that's best practice to do if you want to test for a unit. You ought to go out and see how the job is done.
So when you initially, did you go out to the scene?
I did.
And when you initially out there, who did you shadow at first?
Initially, I was at the scene with Detective Coons. I was present during the scene investigation, though again, as someone who was observing, I didn't personally impound anything or directly conduct the scene investigation myself.
At some point, as you are shadowing these, were you given different requests to help the detectives who are working this case?
Yes, although I'd say the extent to which I started going out and doing things, assigned tasks, really began the day after, on Friday the 12th.
So on Friday, July 12th, 2019, did you become aware that no one had obtained contact information for J.J. Vallow?
That's right.
And did you offer to reach out to Lori Vallow to get that information?
I did.
Why did you need that information?
To have a complete and thorough police report, it's best practice to have proper documentation, name, date of birth, basic demographic information for all the people who are involved in a case, however they might be involved. Given the information we had at that time, he's someone who ought to be listed in the report.
Was he also known to be the son of the deceased victim?
Yes, that's right.
On the 11th, had you had any contact with Lori Vallow?
I did not have any contact on the 11th.
On July 12th, after you offered to get that contact information, did you make contact with Lori Vallow?
I did.
Did you see her or call her?
I called her first.
And was that call recorded?
That call was audio recorded, yes.
When you spoke with Ms. Vallow, did you obtain the contact information for J.J. Vallow?
Yes.
Did you learn from her where J.J. went to school?
Yes.
Did you confirm that she had gone to Burger King before taking J.J. to his school?
Yes.
Did you at some point during that conversation with Ms. Vallow learn that Charles Vallow was staying at the True Hilton Hotel?
Yes.
Prior to this, had you known that he was where he was staying?
I don't think I had any information either way.
So as someone who was separate, did you have any idea where Charles was, whether he was staying at the house or elsewhere prior to this?
I didn't have that information, no.
So you just learned this during your conversation when you're trying to get JJ's information?
Correct.
Did Ms. Vallow advise you that she was in possession of Charles Vallow's hotel room key?
She did.
Did she advise where she had found that?
In his wallet, I believe.
So you learned that she had Charles Vallow's wallet?
That's what she said.
And that she then had a room key for him to True Hilton Hotel?
Correct.
Did you advise her that you would talk to the case agent and let her know who would go get that?
Yes.
After you spoke with Lori Vallow on the phone, did you offer to go out to the Burger King to see if you could obtain any video from there?
I did.
And when you are helping in this aspect of the case, were you aware at that time when the 911 call had been placed?
I was.
And when was that?
That was at 8:36 in the morning.
So you knew as you went out to Burger King that the 911 call was July 11th, 2019 at 8:36 a.m.
Yes, that's correct.
And were you aware when you went out to the Burger King of when the police had arrived at the scene?
Yes.
Was that within a few minutes around 8:41 or 8:42 a.m.?
Yes, that's about right.
And were you aware prior to going out there of when Lori Vallow had been shown or seen on body cam back at 5531 South Four Peaks?
I was.
And was that the 8:48 a.m.?
Yes, that's right.
So all of this is kind of the timeline you're considering when you're going out to Burger King.
Correct.
So when you went out there, were you aware of that? I guess when you went out to Burger King, were you also under an understanding that Lori Vallow had said she was at the house when Charles Vallow was shot?
That was my understanding, yes.
So did all of that play into when you would assume the timing of her arriving at Burger King?
It did.
So sometime after 8:36 is what you're expecting?
To some extent. I was aware that there's a little bit of a logistical difficulty in the question of how one could leave at 8:36 or at just after, and then arrive back by 8:48, knowing the distances and knowing the city of Chandler like I do. So because of that, and knowing that it was clearly the case that she was there at 8:48 because she was on officer's body-worn video, then I knew that there was some chance I would find that the video was in fact prior to the 911 call, because otherwise the distances and the travel didn't seem quite right.
Sorry, babe.
So you see this 12-minute time from when 911 is called to when she arrives back, and you're thinking that there's no way to go to Burger King and drop a kid off at school and get back?
Correct. One of the other things that I was trying to establish when I called her is where she had taken to school, and to confirm that we hadn't misunderstood about the Burger King event happening after the shooting. Because if we hadn't misunderstood, and then learning where the school's approximately 7 miles away from the house. So the idea that one could in 12 minutes go to a Burger King, get their order, drive 7 miles one way, 7 miles back, and arrive in that amount of time seemed very unlikely to me.
So you're now going to Burger King to try to figure out when she actually went there?
Correct.
Thank you for the follow, Alexis.
When you are going to the Burger King, were you aware of what vehicle she was driving?
I was.
Was that, again, body cam had shown what vehicle she had come in?
That's correct.
And was that a red Kia Sorento?
That's right.
So when you, let me ask you this, did you go to a Burger King over at 2865 East Ocotillo Road in Chandler?
I did.
How did you know to go to that one?
I chose that one because it was the closest one, and I wanted to make that logical assumption that that's probably where someone would go first, and then see if I found evidence there that that was the correct one.
All right, so you weren't given that information, you're just trying to figure out which Burger King it was.
Correct.
Did you ask to see if they had surveillance video from the morning of July 11th?
I did.
So you're there on July 12th?
Yes.
When you look at surveillance video at a place like a Burger King, do you ever verify that the date timestamp on that video is accurate?
I do very commonly find that at various places, the level of accuracy to their date and timestamps can be exactly right, or they can be off by a significant margin. So the best practice, and what I did in this case, is I will ask to see their live view, and the live view typically has a timestamp, as it did in this case. And then I will use my cell phone, my work cell phone's location time, or my work cell phone's time. And if they match up, then to me that indicates that the timestamp is probably relatively reliable, particularly if I'm there just the day after the video that I'm looking for.
In this case, was the date timestamp correct for that Burger King?
Yes, that's right.
Did you then ask to watch the surveillance video from that morning of July 11th?
I did.
And as you were watching it, did you see a red SUV and a person that appeared to be Lori Vallow going through the drive-thru?
I did.
Do you recall about what time you saw that happen?
Lori wanted receipts, so.
I want to say the timestamp on that is around 7:20 something.
7:54?
7:54. That is probably correct, yes.
I can't stop thinking about that school.
So if you're looking at a timestamp at 7:54 and you know the 911 call is at 8:36, are you already starting to wonder what's going on here?
Yes, this was one of the concerns that led us to pursue this avenue of investigation.
And you're aware that Lori Vallow had told Detective Inclan that she had left right after Charles was shot.
That is
by
what
choice, yes.
So if she left right after he was shot, she somehow is already at Burger King more than 40 minutes after the shooting, before the 911 call.
Correct.
Did you look at various channels from that surveillance video at Burger King?
I did.
And did you also ask to obtain a receipt from her purchase?
I did.
I can have my paralegal approach with 217.
Lori, you shouldn't have asked for the receipts because here you go. 911 wasn't called for 47 minutes after the shooting.
We're looking at 217 and 218. Do those contain affidavits from Burger King authenticating both the recording and the receipt?
They do.
And is that from the Burger King that you went to obtain that video and that receipt?
It is.
The state will move to admit 217 and 218.
I can't stop thinking about that school.
217 and 218 are admitted.
Now, just so we know, although we have the video right there and that's been admitted, did you create a PowerPoint we're going to get to in a bit that actually includes the relevant portions of that video in it?
I did.
So ultimately, we have 7:54-ish that you see Lori Vallow going through the Burger King. Were you then ever asked to meet with Lori Vallow to get that hotel key still on the 12th year?
Yes, that's correct.
Where did you meet with her?
I met with her at the Four Peaks house.
Okay. Do you recall meeting with her there around 2:10 in the afternoon on July 12th?
Yes, that's right.
Did she provide you with a key card to a hotel, or what looked like a key card to a hotel?
She did.
Do you see that person who gave you Charles Vallow's key card in the courtroom today?
I do.
And can you point her out and identify what she's wearing?
Yes. She's sitting at the defense table wearing a black blazer.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Sure.
Now, at this time, you had already watched the Burger King video that we've discussed. Did she appear to be the same person you saw driving that red Kia Sorento?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you went to the residence at 5531 South Four Peaks, did you see a red Kia Sorento at that residence?
I did.
And did that have Colorado license plates of BRS 084?
It did.
Did that appear to match the vehicle you also saw going through the drive-thru of that Burger King?
It did.
When you got the key card, did you then meet up with Detective Moffett to go to the hotel?
Correct.
And was that the True Hilton at 1950 South Santan Village Parkway in Gilbert?
Yes.
When you went there, were you able to verify that that's where Charles Vallow was staying?
Yes, I believe Detective Moffett spoke to them, but then we were directed to a room.
So were you present with Detective Moffett during that?
I was present, yes.
Okay. And so you were provided with a room number where he was staying?
Yes.
And were you provided, well, you had a room key already to get in there?
Correct.
Did you, while you were there or later, obtain both an affidavit and records showing that Charles Vallow had stayed at that hotel?
Yes.
If I can have my paralegal approach with 219.
These are all points that Lori tried to bring up when she was interviewing the last detective.
Does 219 contain an affidavit authenticating the reservation and room information for Charles Vallow at that True Hilton Hotel?
It does.
And that's the hotel you had gone to with the key card that you got from the defendant?
Yes, that's correct.
The state will move to admit, and I forget what number that is that 219? Sorry.
This is 219.
State will move to admit 219.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
219 is admitted.
And if I can publish that.
That voice again.
Thank you.
Is anybody still watching on the school? I can't stop thinking about it. My focus is totally divided. I'm sorry. It does. It really does.
Okay. So, hold on a little. We see this is from in Exhibit 219, the True Hilton at 1950 South Santan.
Yes.
And did this show that Charles Vallow arrived on the 10th and was supposed to leave on the 13th?
Yes, that's correct.
And then were you also provided with information that this was Charles Vallow's room?
Yes, that's right.
Did you and Detective Moffat go into room 127?
We did.
And when you went in there, what was inside?
There were items that I understood to belong to Mr. Vallow. That was our primary reason for being there, was to secure them. A backpack, 2 suitcases, I believe, at least 1 laptop computer. I assisted in gathering these up and impounding them.
Okay. So all of those items were brought to the Chandler Police Department and impounded?
That's right.
Okay. After you had gone to the True Hilton Hotel, did you also learn that the defendant had told Detective England that she had stopped at a Walgreens to buy some flip-flops?
Initially, I was told a CVS. Whether I misunderstood or there was a miscommunication, I initially believed it was a CVS.
So did you try to locate a CVS in the generic area that you're looking at the Burger King and the school?
I did. I tried actually 7 different CVS locations trying to locate video and wasn't able to.
So at that point, you were unable to verify that initially?
Correct.
Are you sure that wasn't the one from last year? Because it was on the same time last year.
To review the GPS data that was extracted from Charles Vallow's cell phone.
I was.
Did you have anything to do with extracting the data from his cell phone?
I did not.
Can you talk to us about this GPS data that's part of this extraction? Like, do all cell phones give us GPS data?
As an end user and the person who doesn't do the extraction, depending on a particular user's settings, particularly if we're talking about smartphones, phones equipped with a GPS module and where that GPS module is working, they may record the GPS location of the device for various reasons, depending on the settings. I, for example, keep my GPS location off, so you would not expect to find very many GPS recorded locations on my device. Many people keep them on. I find it's quite common. If so, then the people in the computer forensics unit are able to extract data from the phone to include logged GPS locations, and then can produce that in a report, which as an end user, I can view the latitude, longitude that was recorded by the device for one reason or another, and the date and time that it was recorded by the device. And that gives us GPS locations to look at for where the device may have been.
So for Charles Vallow's phone, were you, through that extraction, provided with, I'll call it ongoing GPS data location for his phone on July 11th?
Yes, so there were GPS locations recorded on the device for July 11th, which was the time period of interest, and I was able to look at those.
Okay. So whether
they don't have
the shooter. See if there were GPS location device information on the phone for other dates as well?
MSN.com, CBS, Texas.
At the date of this shooting.
Correct.
And when we talk about the device, so this is telling you not who has the device, just where the device is.
They're saying could be up to 3 people.
When you were looking at that GPS data from the extraction of Charles Vallow's phone, did you discover that Lori Vallow had actually gone to a Walgreens?
I did.
Based upon looking at that information, did you find an address at 785 South Cooper Road that corresponded to a Walgreens where you saw the device at around 8:15 a.m. on July 11th?
I did.
Based upon seeing that GPS data, did you go to that Walgreens?
Yes, I initially called. I eventually went.
After going to 7 CVS, you decided to call?
I decided to call.
And when you called, did you learn that they did in fact, well, what did you do? How did they know what you're even looking for?
I called, asked to speak to a manager, as I will often do in things like this, and said, I don't tell them specifically why, but I'm looking to see if a person came through, and I provide a general description of that person and what it is that they may have purchased. Usually that's enough. That's what I did in this case. That's enough for them to find if they do or don't have that transaction on video. That's what I did.
So you have the time and the date, the 8/15 and July 11th, and you just give them a description and see if they can find anything that matches?
Correct.
Did they advise you they did?
They did.
Did you go to that Walgreens and obtain a copy of that surveillance footage
I did.
from multiple cameras?
Correct.
Did you also obtain a copy of the receipt of her purchase?
I did.
My paralegal can approach with 216.
But you're regretting asking for those receipts now, Lori.
And so looking at 216, do you see an affidavit for that Walgreens that you contacted regarding obtaining both the surveillance video and the receipt, as well as a copy of the receipt and the video itself?
I do.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 216. No objection, Your Honor.
216 admitted.
And if I can publish the receipt portion. So for this receipt, it advises that at 8:19, there was a purchase for 2 different pairs of flip-flops.
Yes.
Okay. And that corresponded to what you observed on the video that is in this exhibit as well?
Yes, that's correct.
In watching this video, did you recognize the person making that purchase?
I did.
And who did you recognize that to be?
I recognized Ms. Lori Vallow, at the time now Ms. Daybell, from having seen the body-worn video and also having met her in person.
And the video that you obtained here, did you also incorporate that into a PowerPoint presentation that you created showing the GPS data location from July 11th of 2019?
I did.
Well, let me ask you, so did you create a PowerPoint presentation of the GPS data from Charles?
Yeah, thank you, Ginger. It's not active right now, but they're not saying that anyone's in custody either. Thank you.
Cell phone for July 11th of 2019.
I did.
When you were creating this PowerPoint, did you use any phone records or other?
I did.
When you were creating this PowerPoint, did you utilize cell phone records? And I think you talked to us about the difference here. And cell tower data that was provided to you by the providers, and by providers I mean like a T-Mobile or an AT&T.
Those records were provided to Chandler Police Department, not to me directly. I later obtained copies that I used to incorporate in my presentation.
You've got to remember, not too long after Charles was alive, the kids went missing. So they had everything pretty much stretched out. Yes, this is the conspiracy to commit. She's already been found guilty for unaliving her children and conspiring for Tammy Daybell.
So were you aware of search warrants that were issued to obtain cell phone records to include cell tower data for several different individuals?
You're welcome.
So in your PowerPoint presentation, did you utilize GPS data that was for Lori Vallow's Verizon cell phone with a phone number of 808-755-5452?
One minor clarification, I wouldn't call it GPS data particularly. There's location data, correct, but not specifically derived via GPS, as was the data from Mr. Vallow's phone.
And if I can have Exhibit 222.
You can get it on Court TV, Long Crime.
Do we see both an affidavit authenticating Lori Vallow's Verizon cell phone records for that 808-755-5452? The phone records?
Yes, it does.
And does it also include some printouts from those records themselves?
Yes, it does.
State will move to admit 222 into evidence. No objection, Your Honor.
222 is admitted.
Did you utilize then some of the cell tower data that was provided by Verizon in those records for Lori Vallow's cell phone in your PowerPoint presentation?
I did.
Her next one's also conspiracy.
Did you also become aware of the police executing a search warrant for another cell phone associated to Lori Vallow with T-Mobile for 480-692-9562?
Yes.
Were you provided with those records so that you could also look at the cell tower usage of that phone on July 11th?
Yes.
If my paralegal can approach with 220. Looking at Exhibit 220, is there an affidavit in there from T-Mobile
Yes, there is.
related to, again, does it also include a thumb drive of all the records in there,
It does.
as well as some of the records printed out?
Yes, it does.
The state will
YouTube.
move to admit Exhibit 220.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
220 is admitted.
If I can just do one more. Were you also made aware that search warrants were executed
location,
to
yeah.
obtain Verizon cell phone records for Alexander Cox for a phone number of 480? Did you utilize
I don't know what that means.
those records and the cell tower data that was part of them in your PowerPoint presentation for July 11th of 2019?
Yes.
And if I can have my
This is
paralegal approach with
YouTube.
221.
On Lawn Crime and Court TV, you could find it. You're
Looking at
welcome.
221, do you see an affidavit there from Verizon for the Verizon cell phone records for 480-310-9120?
I see an affidavit, but I see this is the number ending 5452.
If you can look at that, is there a second affidavit in there?
Yes, this does include 9120, but I saw on the envelope here it lists the other number.
Perfect. So there's an affidavit in there for the 9120 number associated with Alexander Cox.
Yes.
And there's also a thumb drive in there of all the phone records associated with, again, that number 480-310-9120.
Yes.
And those were, again, records that you utilized in creating your PowerPoint for July 11th.
This is her second trial.
Exhibit 221.
This is for conspiring to unalive Charles Vallow. The first one was unaliving her children and conspiring for Chad's wife,
You
Tammy.
talked to us earlier about your training and experience in using GPS data and cell tower data, correct?
Yes.
When you are looking at either GPS data from a cell phone or cell tower data from a provider, do you try to verify the accuracy of that information by comparing it to other sources?
Absolutely.
For instance, you told us that you were using the GPS data from Charles Vallow's cell phone, and you went to Burger King.
Correct.
And were you looking at the times to see if the GPS data and time matched what you saw in that video?
Yes, with one slight correction. I went to the Burger King initially because it was the closest one. Later, when I was given the GPS data, I looked and saw that it did, in fact, accord to the Burger King. And then I went to the Walgreens because of what I had seen in the GPS data. In either direction that you do that in, essentially what I'm trying to do is make sure just because a device has logged a location at a particular date and time doesn't have to mean it was there. The device could be wrong. It could have been changed in some way. One of the things that we do to make sure that we are relying on good data only is to find other means of corroborating if the device was apparently at that location.
He's good.
Thank you. So I have this plugged in here, if I can just admit it, but did you provide the state with Exhibit 209 as a thumb drive of your PowerPoint code?
Yes.
Did you sign and put your badge number on the back of it?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's something you created that we've talked about, incorporating all of these different records that we've discussed.
That's correct.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit Exhibit 209 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
209 is admitted.
Might be a good time to break before we start with this.
All right, let's take our noon recess. I'll remind the jury of the admonition. We'll resume with the jury at 1:30 p.m.
All rise for the jury.
Okay. Yeah, we were covering it until we found out that the scene was secure, just to make sure. That's why I like pausing it. It lets us fast forward through everything else. Are you watching the courtroom, Glam? I want to check on the school. Thank you.
Anxiety, and officials may be making decisions about reunification or this checkpoint or that checkpoint, but is that filtering down to the actual officer who is there at that particular corner? So it appears, at least, that it appears like it's worked out now, and we see a more steady stream of parents going in there.
And you could have, police protecting evidence in a certain area too. I know there was some talk about maybe something happened on the south end of the school, which is where the stadium is too. So maybe that could be one of the reasons. The reunification, though, does appear to be playing out a heck of a lot better than it did last year. That was a big complaint that a lot of parents had. And one last thing to add here too, we understand just within the last half hour, a moment of silence happened on the floor of the House of Representatives in Austin, thinking about everyone who was involved today.
All right, we're going to wrap our coverage here on air now. We're going to return you to your regular scheduled program. Look for us back on WFAA News at 4.
And we're on a WFAA Plus right now.
All right, we want to welcome those of you who may have been watching us on air, but we're on WFA Plus, our streaming app now. And I think this is really a good time now to sort of reset what we have seen this afternoon. The initial calls of this incident came in just after 1 o'clock. So about 1:05, the 911 call started going out, and they came in to first responders as an active shooter call.
And this happened at Wilmer Hutchins High School. It's a Dallas ISD school. It's on the southeast side of the city of Dallas, around Interstate 45 and Interstate 20, to kind of give you your bearings of where it is in the city here. This shooting call went out, and obviously police raced there from a number of agencies. Dallas Police, Dallas ISD Police already had an officer on the scene from our understanding. Wilmer Police, ATF agents, federal agents are there now too. Transit Police from DART are there. Everyone rushes to the scene.
That was her first trial. That's already done. Their bodies were recovered and she was found guilty. This is her second trial.
The bottom line is they found out after, getting things settled here, 4 people got injured. Now, it's important to delineate this here because of the 4, only 1 person was shot, and that 1 person who was shot was apparently struck by a bullet in the leg in the calf area, and that's where that person was hit. 3 of those people went to Baylor Scott and White in downtown Dallas, the Deep Ellum side of downtown Dallas, which is a level 1 trauma center. The other patient went to Methodist Hospital in North Oak Cliff. The good news is all of those people have non-life-threatening injuries.
So only 1.
Yeah, we have a team of reporters, both here in the newsroom, folks making calls, talking to their sources with various law enforcement agencies. We now have 2 sources that have confirmed to WFAA that authorities do not have the suspect in custody. So 2 sources confirming to WFAA that at this point, they do not have the suspect in custody. I want to get back out now live to my colleague, Dia Wall. You've been out there, Dia, watching sort of the frustration mounting as parents waited to be reunited with their children. What's happening now?
So right now, we are starting to see a very slow trickle, guys, of families who are being released, including some students that I just so happen to run into here, 2 young ladies who go to Wilmer Hutchins. First, how are you both doing?
I'm okay. I'm just glad I didn't get hurt.
Talk to me about the scene inside the school when all this started happening.
Oh yeah, we was up in the cafeteria and we just heard 5 gunshots and we got scared. We just started running.
If you could describe the moment inside the school for everybody. I know you said you started running, but what about everybody else?
Some of us ducked, some of us ran. Some forgot their stuff, but I feel like we all made it out safely.
So then it's been hours. You guys are just now getting released to your family. I mean, what is the feeling been for you?
You said what's the feeling like getting released? Oh yeah, they should have released us earlier. Well, I knew it was safety, but I kind of been wanting to go home because I was scared. It was traumatizing.
I'm sure you guys have seen reports of school shootings before, but to know it happened inside and multiple people, your classmates are hurt. How does that feel?
That's scary. I wouldn't want it happening to me, and I feel bad for the people that did get hurt.
For you, what would your message be for all the families at home who are watching that, this is really a part of your story and your history now?
Be safe because you never know what might happen. It could be you just let your child go to school and it could just be a shooting that could be heard. Just be safe out here.
I know you said you heard 5 or 6 gunshots, right? But did it happen in the cafeteria?
No, it was it sounded like it was in the hallway. I don't know, but it was near, but I don't know.
Do you have any indication? Has there been any conversation about what led up to this, an argument, anything?
No, not that I know of. I don't know anything. I just heard the gunshots.
In those frantic moments when you guys are running, do you remember the first person you saw once you stopped hearing the gunshots?
I saw her. I just went to my closest friends, made sure they were okay.
What were those first few seconds like after?
It was scary. Like, I didn't know what to do. I kind of started crying because it was so scary.
Who'd you call?
I called my mama.
Tell me what that conversation was like.
I was telling her that they shot, and she was like, and she was scared, and she didn't know what to do. So she sounded like
Look, I know this is a lot to process, and you guys are just happy to be able to leave and go home.
Because I'm happy to go home. Like, I am so happy.
I'm going to let you ladies go, okay? Thank you for taking the time. So like I was mentioning, man, we may see one family, one group come out every 60 to 90 seconds or so. As you can imagine, it's taken a while to check IDs, get the kids reunited. And I know you may see that young lady laughing, but a lot of these kids that I've talked to, they don't know how to necessarily process this, right? If you're sitting in the cafeteria having your regular lunch on a Tuesday and you hear 5 or 6 gunshots, some people flee, some people duck. You have no idea what's going on, hard to orient yourself. They've just been really kind of struggling to figure it all out. And so we want to give them a little bit of grace. But I'm telling you guys, this has been a hectic, confusing process for families who just want to see their kids, right? A lot of folks in the South will say, just lay eyes on their baby, right? That's what we're watching happen. But again, we're pushed back a little bit. We're going to try to get some more families to bring to you. And as soon as we have more context, any more information, or any more reunions, we'll bring them to you here live.
All right, thank you, Dia.
I do that too.
As
I nervous
the
laugh.
father of a teenager, I can tell you their outward reactions are not always indicative of what they're feeling inside. So,
Yeah, and no doubt, 4 people, potentially their classmates, are in Dallas hospitals right now in this hour at 3 o'clock with some different injuries. Most of the 4, 3 of the 4 actually went to Baylor Scott and White in downtown Dallas. Kevin Reese is there right now. Kevin.
Yeah, we do understand that 3 of those victims from Wilmer Hutchins were brought here to Baylor Scott and White. For those of you who don't know where this is at the intersection, the ER here at Worth and Hall. This is on the Deep Ellum side of downtown Dallas. The other victim, we are told, the 4th, was taken to Methodist Hospital down in Oak Cliff. We'll give you a look at the ER right now, and I can tell you it has calmed down quite a bit, but there was a much larger than normal police presence here in the last couple of hours. Not only the security that is normally here with Baylor Scott and White outside of the ER as is necessary, but also a large number of DPD officers were here as well. Clearly not the standard protocol for what happens day to day. It would appear that they were here as they would to keep an eye on these victims coming in. But our latest information is the same, that 3 of the victims from Wilmer Hutchins were brought here with non-life-threatening injuries, the 4th taken to Methodist on the south side of Dallas. Things are very calm here now. We have not seen families or parents arriving here yet, but we will talk to them if they want to, if and when they do show up here at Baylor Scott and White. Back to you all.
all right, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, we'll keep in touch with you. Hopefully, is again, we want to reiterate everything we're hearing is all of these injuries are non-life-threatening injuries. So we may not get a specific update on their medical condition. Know that it's been communicated that none of these injuries are life-threatening at this point.
That is the good news. Now the next big questions on the investigative side are for police and for the school district, and how did this happen? And we can tell from the video we're seeing from our helicopter out there that law enforcement is set up to stay and will likely be there, no doubt, through the evening and into the night as they retrace this, look at surveillance video around the school, try to find out what happened. And as Chris mentioned earlier, identify the suspect. We talked to the mayor pro tem, Tanel Atkins, a little earlier, and he was telling us that he understood that police knew who the suspect was. But our sources are telling us now, as Chris reported a moment ago, that that suspect is not in custody yet. So certainly that's the next big thing police want to do, is identify that person and get them in custody to get that person off the street. I mentioned this before we went off the air on TV a moment ago, but We've been talking about this here. It's certainly a huge story in the city of Dallas and in North Texas as well. But it's also making its way to Austin, too. And Representative Aisha Davis, who's a state representative who represents the Wilmer Hutchins High School and a lot of southern Dallas County, she asked on the floor of the House of Representatives within the last hour, she asked for prayers for her district, for the students, for law enforcement, for emergency responders, and others. And then the Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, asked members to stand up there and have a moment of silence for everyone who was involved today. And, the Mayor Pro Tem made a really good point here, too. Regardless of the questions you have here, and there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and a lot of parents deserve answers, you got to be thankful for the response that law enforcement showed. It's throw everything at it and pull it back as needed, and it appears that everything was thrown at it, and everything is still on the scene as they get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, let's get back out. Brittany
Okay, so there we have it. Up to date as of right now. While we're waiting to get back, we have Nate Eaton that was live for 5 minutes.
Afternoon, everybody. Quick update for you. We are on day 6 of Lori Vallow Daybell's trial, and the big question is she going to have any witnesses to call? That's what the judge talked about first thing this morning, is that some of her witnesses are getting subpoenas, some aren't. The judge wants to know if they've been served. Larry Woodcock apparently got a subpoena, and that was done inadvertently, but Lori Vallow Daybell's name was signed on it. So then the state brought that up, that Lori signed the subpoena. Why did she sign the subpoena if it was sent as an accident? And Lori responded that she just signed a stack of subpoenas. The judge told her she needs to be more careful. She can't just be doing stuff like that. So Larry Woodcock got a subpoena. Bobby Vallow got a subpoena. Those were both struck. Those aren't happening. But then there's other people on her witness list that haven't got subpoenas and can't be tracked down. And so the state of her witnesses are in flux. We will see what happens when the state rests. The judge reminded her that the state's resting on Thursday, maybe Monday at the latest. And then it's her turn. Then it's Lori's turn, and we'll see if she decides to call anybody, if she can call anybody other than herself. The cross-examination continued with Detective Cassandra Youngklung. I think I'm saying her name right. I was told how to say it, and I put it in my phone. I will have it perfected by tonight. Lori went back and forth with her about whether she was advised that her police interview was being recorded at the police station. The detective said no, because it's a public place. There's no rights of the right of privacy is not expected at a police station. She went back and forth over her being notified about Charles's death in front of Tylee, but Lori already knew the fact that, it had happened. And then I think that those were kind of the key points. We had to take a little bit of a break for a technical issue. We went back into court with Detective Ariel Werther. He's the guy who put together all the GPS data points of where Charles's phone went the morning of the shooting, when we presume Lori had the phone. The fact she went to Walgreens, it was kind of a funny moment. He said that he had originally been told it was CVS, so he went to 7 CVS locations. None of them had any record of Lori being there, or none of them had any indication that she had bought flip-flops. Well, once he got Charles's phone, he realized, oh, the phone actually went to a Walgreens. So instead of going over there, he actually called them. And they said, yeah, she was here. So he went, he got the data, he got the receipt from the flip-flops. The times matched up for Charles's phone versus their surveillance footage. He also went to the Burger King where Lori stopped and got the receipt there and the surveillance footage from there. He went to the True Hilton where Charles was staying and was able to get the receipt there. They searched his room, they seized his computer, all of his other personal information that was in there. And after lunch, PowerPoint is going to be shown in court, showing all of the activity of his phone, of Charles's device. So should be interesting as he lays it all out for the jurors and gets, lays out the GPS points and things like that.
It'll be really interesting to see if Lori was able to wipe that phone.
kind of a quick catch up as far as what we have been doing here today. Just recorded a quick little hit with Dateline. They're going to have something coming out this week with the latest on the trial. And tonight we'll be back with Courtroom Insider to break it all down. Hope you can join me at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. That's 7 o'clock here in Arizona and Pacific Time.
One thing to keep in mind, remember when she was interviewing Charles's lady friend? She was texting him that whole day. And who had the phone? Lori.
Seats were pretty full today. I think every seat, maybe 2 or 3 were empty. But other than that, a lot of people from different states are here. I met people from Utah, from Seattle, Arizona, of course, Idaho. And yeah, people are still interested. How you doing? Good. Good. Just doing a little live video here. Waiting for my sandwich. Jimmy John's lunch today, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to head inside. I'm going to grab this lunch and stay tuned. Tonight we will have the latest.
Right,
hope you're watching. Appreciate your support. We'll see you. By the way, I apologize. This is a long story.
Not back yet. Still waiting. I really like that Nate Eaton. I don't know if I like him more because she doesn't like him or just because, but he seems like a pretty nice guy. I didn't see Colby there today. It's okay. We just had a few things happen. We had an active situation at high school in, was it Houston or Dallas? My brain is going offline. Lori's brother's deceased, Amy. The one that unalived, he's deceased. To be completely honest with you guys, here's Lori. She has a deceased brother, a deceased sister, 2 deceased husbands, and 2 deceased children. Dallas, thank you. Sometimes my brain just goes offline. So, needless to say, people around Lori cease existing when they no longer seem to serve her prerogative, but that's just an opinion. My headache's coming back. Let me check our other headlines while we're waiting. The documentary was a big nothing burger. It was very disappointing. I think we got more of a backstory than anything. I believe it was a performance for Lori, and I believe she got the message across that she wanted. Yeah, especially if you've been labeled dark. That's right. I have it right here, but I'm just not feeling so good. And let's see what headlines we have. Diddy freak off tapes are now emerging. That's news to me. Did you guys hear that one of the questions for the potential jurors, or one of the notifications was that they may have to watch freak off tapes? Yeah. I'm not even kidding. I wouldn't kid about that. Not even kidding. Yeah, I have a Mountain Dew next to me, but I don't know, just with my headache, it's starting to make me feel a little bit nauseous too, so I'm just letting my stomach calm a little bit. It's the seasons of the season of headaches. Huh? Jose guy. Like I said, I think my brain is going offline, so The memory isn't working right now. No, nobody's home. Out of the newest things on cases to be released recently was the Delphi murder confession tapes. That is recently a new addition. That's not Holloway. I know who you're talking about, though. You made the connection with my brain. Thank you. That was. See, my brain is going offline, you guys. I'm not even kidding. Was it Dominican Republic? I get brain fog a lot when I get bad headaches. Well, I always have brain fog. Who am I trying to fool? But Sudoku, I can't. Yeah, he was from Massachusetts. But are you talking about the girl? Yeah, I had a migraine all morning, but it's coming back now, so my brain fog gets worse. Not to mention the fibro fog that I always have, so I'm a lost cause. But yeah, if you're talking about the girl that disappeared at the hotel, I believe that was the Dominican Republic. She's not been found. I have no idea about that one. No, Natalie was Aruba, but the other one wasn't. Jose Morales? Is that what you're talking about? Thank you, Allison. I know that there is current testimony in Jose Morales's murder trial. That's all I know. Yeah. I don't know anything about that case, honestly. That's the first time I've heard that name. Let's check on the courtroom again. I don't want to miss it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you guys miss any part of it, I do put our lives on YouTube after we're done at night. Sometimes they don't get up to like 12 or 1. It takes a long time to download them and then upload them. But every day we have day 1 through 5 there. Tonight I'll put day 6 up. So if you missed anything, don't worry. You can go back and you can watch whatever parts you like. You're welcome. Oh, excuse me. I need a nap. Someone want to take my place and sit in the chair, and I'll just go over on the futon and, you know. My anxiety is kind of up from the way that Lori was questioning that detective still. I'll be okay, I think. I'll be fine. They should be getting back in just a couple minutes, honestly, but who knows? But yes, this court will resume shortly, yes. We had a decent chunk so we could fast forward through, so we got stuck here. I like to pause things when I'm talking. I don't like to talk over court, and usually we pause it enough times to where we could at least be current when they go on lunch, but not today. Sorry, guys. Thank you, Lori. Maybe I should ask my doctor about that Botox for migraines, because that would be a new way to fight my war on wrinkles, and I've been getting a lot of migraines lately. I'm scared, though. I'm such a chicken. What's the next conspiracy trial? That is for her niece's former husband. I'm thinking about asking my doctor about it, honestly. These headaches are getting ridiculous. So, I believe it was Brandon Brudeau. I can never say that last name. Brudeau. The niece's former husband, Melanie. Alex Cox, it's alleged that he tried to unalive him too, by her order. I believe it was him that also turned into a dark spirit. Yeah, well, yeah, it's Melanie's husband, yeah. I've been on amitriptyline, yeah. Honestly, nothing really works. They're always worse for me in the spring and in the summer. For me. But I noticed my eyes have been getting red a lot too, so I don't know if there's any kind of allergy thing. I don't know. With her brother Alex, who pulled the trigger both times. Allegedly. He's not around anymore, too. Yeah. But again, she has 2 siblings that are deceased, 2 husbands that are deceased, 2 children that are deceased. And Tammy Daybell as well. And Tammy Daybell and Brandon Bordeaux. What is it with having it 2-2-2? You tell me another person that has this many deceased relatives. Literally, that's what I was saying yesterday. She's literally the epitome of the Black Widow. My theory on what happened to the children is I believe that it was something that Alex did with them there at their guidance. Yep. Well, they are. We're not, but they are, yeah. They should be back in whenever they say court will resume shortly. My brain's not operating at full capacity. It's kind of half shut down right about now. I believe he did too. It really pisses me off to hear her talk about Tylee and JJ. She doesn't have that right, in my opinion. Do you guys think that she unalived them after she found out that she didn't get the life insurance, like out of rage? Or did she see no use for them? Why did she choose to end them? Did Tylee know too much? No, there isn't. There is no emotion. I think she wanted a new life without them too, but she could have just given JJ to Kay. Why can't people just do the regular common human decency thing instead of unaliving people? Oh yeah, absolutely. But here's a question I have for you. Why were her children deemed dark, but Chad's weren't? That cannot make sense. And I don't know about all the children, but they supported Chad through this trial. Well, goddess, but yeah, I know. If you ask me, she's been doing that her whole damn life. By the way, guys, if you're a subscriber, we got new stickers. I actually remembered to make them. But what was the one I said I want to make tonight? Because I can't remember. We have an objection, in my opinion, now added to the list. I should take the... Do you think I should take the second one down, Allison? Lies, that's right. That's what makes her dangerous, in my opinion. The fact that she literally seems so normal. How many people knew someone just like her? You think I should take the red objection one out? Because you can't really read it. Okay. But how does she get that power? That's my question. That's my question. And we're just supposed to believe that Alex suddenly died from, what was it, a blood clot? Well, who's the puppet master here, Chad or Lori? Keep in mind, Lori's the one with 2 deceased husbands. I actually was listening to an interview with Alex's former wife, and she talks about some very inappropriate things between them. You think Lori? There's proof that she said she wanted to unalive Joseph Ryan, Tylee's dad. And so did Alex. I don't think she's likable either. She's a mean girl. That's what I'm hearing too, is that some sick stuff did happen. But what I don't get is we never see her parents. Natural causes, coincidentally enough. Just like Alex Cox. But keep in mind, before Joseph Ryan passed away, Alex Cox was in prison for tasing him in a fight. He served time on this. And then his former wife knew that he is saying he wanted to unalive him. But you expect me to believe that was a heart attack? But that many people, and they're just now catching up with her. There's got to be more, right? I believe that too. I think she's shown that. She's made that pretty evident. But she was going really hard at that detective this morning. I don't see her, you don't really see her do that much when it's men. But she does with women. How many of you actually think that this is nothing more than a show for her? And how many of you think that she really does believe she's going to get exonerated of everything? They can't exhume. Just like Charles Vallow, Lori had him cremated. Joseph Ryan happened first. It was the same thing. Then she applied for Tylee to get benefits through Social Security on Joseph Ryan. She did the same thing with Charles. Well, her ego needs to get a reality check, and a quick one. I think she wants the stage. I think she loves the attention, and she feels entitled to it. Another entitled person. This one just is prone to unaliving and conspiring to unalive. Come on, you guys don't need the longest lunch in the world. You notice how her curls every day are getting tighter and tighter? Again, I don't understand that. Is anybody hoping that if Lori's going to keep pushing it, she does open that door? I kind of want that door to be open. I kind of feel like the jury deserves to know, with as much as she's tiptoeing around it. You have to wonder if the jury looks at each other and goes, are we going to hear from these kids that we keep hearing about? Me too, catnip. I'm not in Arizona, so I don't know. She's tiptoeing around the fact that she's already been found guilty of unaliving her 2 children. The 2 children that she keeps bringing up. It really, really, really bothers me when she brings up the children. She thinks that people is disposable. In my opinion, of course. Those children were no different. Not in Illinois. I'm in Illinois. She's called him her husband over 37 times. That's when we stopped counting. It was 36 or 37. She called him her husband when she currently has another husband. Are you? That wind's picking up again. I'll be right back while we're waiting for them to come back. I'm gonna use the bathroom really quick and check on my kitties. It's playing, so when they come back... Yeah, Parker said they lost power too. I'm okay, how are you? I'll be right back. Let me run and go potty before they come back. I'll be back. hearing court noise. Oh, we're already to 40,000 likes. Thank you, guys. They should have been back by now. It's been kind of crazy, honestly, today. Don't worry, I'll post the live after this live ends. I'll post it on YouTube. She went really hard at that detective. It's been kind of crazy. It really has. She's come close to opening doors that she doesn't want opened. Hi, pretty girl. Come here, Abby. They're expecting the prosecution to wrap up Thursday or Monday at the latest. So Lori's kind of running late with her witnesses, and she's the one that wanted a speedy trial. I don't think she is, no. I don't. In fact, everything that she's been trying to push has backfired, in my opinion. Just not on like an epic scale. I will say that the defense rebounded her detective this morning very well. Very, very well. One second, I gotta check my messages while we wait. Yeah, court TV. I always prefer court TV over long crime. Long crime tends to have a lot of technical issues. I'm just checking my messages really quick while we're sitting here waiting, all patiently. I'm probably one of the most patient people in existence. Can close that. Can close that. Are you watching it from in the courtroom? Because everything that we're seeing is on a 20-minute delay. Or I'm sorry, a 30-minute delay from the courtroom. Judge's orders. So unless it's somebody that's inside the courtroom right now that's speaking, we can't see it. And I'm live here. It just says court will resume shortly. Let me click on the other ones and see. Let's check East Idaho News.
If I can just do one more.
No, that's not their live feed. I was about to say. Okay, court. The East Idaho News made a new live. They're not live yet. Let's check long crime. No. It's just one camera in there, and that's one camera that feeds to everybody that wants to show it, I guess. Is anybody having a hard time following this witness, though? His voice is so monotone. I'm reading the chat in Court TV now. It's quite interesting. You know, anytime I look in the chats for any of this stuff, anything news or courtroom related, it's damn depressing. People are so effing negative. They're going back and forth in the chat. My husband's in the shower. He must have knocked over a bottle of shampoo or something. I've heard him move since then. That's how I'm like, okay, he's okay though. I haven't seen Kobe in the courtroom at all. Surprisingly not the wind this time. Binksy! That boy's been mysteriously missing today again. This week, Aaron's working a different schedule. So, Binksy follows Daddy around when Daddy's home. So does Mila and Abby. Nala sticks to me. Did I tell you that I got contacted? They're putting Binks' face on coffee mugs now. Mommy's little model. He knows how to do his kitty turns on the kitty walk. Okay, I'm getting bored. I'm going to check the headlines really quick. We have a puzzle from when they put him on puzzles. We just haven't put it together yet. Harvey Weinstein's retrial begins in New York. He's getting big. How did that cat get this big this fast? It's like we just got him. There's a sticker with this photo. Or caption? What do you mean? You mean in here? I got 2 photos in here. It's hard to see the first one though. The second one is one of the 2 that has been getting picked up a lot. Because he literally looks like he has puppy dog eyes. But he's a cat. Somebody said in the chat, Lori and Chad don't believe in divorce, but murder is okay to them. Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I could make us one, but for the paw prints, it just has this picture. Binksy, come say hi to your aunties. He's like, I'm sleeping, Mama. For the love of all things trial, come on. I just realized you guys have no idea what I'm looking at. Sorry. I'm not looking at anything because nothing's happening. He does. He has about 100 aunties. He'll come out when he wants his TRATs, though. Come on, Lori. Fashionably late doesn't count for you. I'm afraid to go to anything else because I'm afraid like the minute that I do is when it's going to come back on. They're saying so 9 minutes. There is a 30-minute delay from court. Yeah, we know. I already know about that. Court TV says there's a 30-minute delay from live court to the stream for this trial. But we knew that. They didn't in their chat, clearly. I hear something tapping on something right next to me, and there's no one here. It's time to add a little light to the room because no, we got him from somebody a few towns over. My face spirit. My favorite spirit. The one that I have, we don't even have it identified. It's that creepy closet. Did you hear that? Listen. My hands are right here. I'm not moving. Now you're going to be silent? It just wanted to make me look bad. Did you hear that one? Well, I think we need to first see what they're going to show us. And that's why they're going to be doing the slideshow, is because they're going to be showing us what's in Charles's phone. I'm like afraid to not look up. You know what? I know what sticker we need. We need a side-eye sticker. You know, the sticker that looks to the side? Remind me to make that one next. I could think of a million scenarios we use that for. Nonchalant. That will be hard to see, though. Anytime I start talking, the noises start again. We need a Ghostbusters True Crime Edition. Bamboo gate, flip-flop gate. Man, these comments are hilarious.
Huh?
You okay?
Yeah, why?
We heard a crash from the other room.
It was a couple of things fell while I was getting out of the shower.
The ghost is speaking, making noises, tappings. Ask them. They've been hearing it.
Sure it's not cats?
You tell me where our cats are at right now.
Abby was out here, right by the bathroom door.
It was in here.
In here?
See? He doesn't hear it.
I said I don't know.
I got it playing here. It's not back. It's not paused. It's just a moving. I hear it though.
All right, we're back on the record.
Finally.
No. The prosecution's present, the defense is present. Jury is not present. Apparently you have a witness issue this afternoon.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Duncan was out ill yesterday and ill Sunday as well, and was not doing well as the morning went along. So I did send him home, and so Detective Werther will be our last witness today.
Okay.
This is their last witness today. Turn up your audio, please,
All right,
court.
so depending on, well, when we finish with this witness, whether it's before or after our noon break or afternoon break, we'll conclude for the day at that time.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we get into jury?
Not that the state's aware.
No? Okay.
So he'll be the last witness, then they're ending for the day. The other one's sick. If we could ever get there. I can't stop thinking about the fact that she's trying to get his son subpoenaed, who she couldn't even call to say your dad passed away or was unalived by my brother. She texted his two older sons, and now she's trying to subpoena them.
That's a little messed up.
It's a lot of messed up. But she always likes to say, we had 5 kids. 2 of them were grown and they're not even hers. It's my personal opinion that she is trying to get them to slip up because then she could say mistrial. I don't know. She says that they have evidence of communication with Charles and Adam. Her brother Adam. This is our last witness today, you guys.
All right, the jury is now present. Everyone may be seated. You can continue with this witness.
Thank you. So Detective, before the break, we had just admitted Exhibit 209, a PowerPoint that you created utilizing the GPS data that was extracted from Charles Val's phone, correct?
Yes.
The cell tower data that you obtained through, that you were able to obtain from search warrants on cell phones for Lori Vallow and Alex Cox.
Correct.
As well as incorporating some of the video that you had obtained from Burger King and the Walgreens.
That's right.
All right. We had attempted to see if you could control this from your location, but you were not able to, right?
Correct.
So I'm going to have you sort of tell me as we go through when to proceed to the next step, okay?
Very good.
So on this first page, is this just describing for us the cell phones and the data, where you obtained the data from?
Correct.
Can you talk to us about what we're seeing here? What is this for?
Yes, so I tried to have a slide for each set of records incorporated into the presentation. These are records I was provided. It's not necessarily the case that every one of these things is depicted at some point in the presentation, but these are all the records I was provided, about this number ending in 5452. Throughout the presentation, I'll refer to most of the numbers by their last 4 digits. It's just easier than listing the whole thing out, and they all have unique last 4. So the listed subscribers is listed there, and then also the contact name that was listed in the subscriber records, and then you can see what each of the files was, primarily CSV or XLSX files. These are spreadsheets like you would open in Excel.
Next.
Yep. Okay, there we are. This is the same title for a different phone number ending 9562. You'll notice this one is T-Mobile, and the way T-Mobile provided their records is a lot fewer spreadsheets. It just happens to be the case that Verizon tends to provide an awful lot of files. It's just the way they maintain their records, and we don't control that.
So some of them have records that one spreadsheet may include everything from calls to cell tower locations, and others they separate them all out.
Correct. Different businesses choose to keep their records different ways. We don't dictate it. We take what we're given and then we analyze that.
So this 9562 number is for Lori Bell.
That's what the subscriber information listed, yes. And here we have the records related to a Verizon number ending 9120, listed subscriber, Mr. Alex Cox. This is again Verizon, so as you can see, we have that multiple number of spreadsheets in the manner that they tend to provide them.
And those are sort of the things that were on those thumb drives when we were talking about each exhibit.
Correct. And then this is going to represent the data extracted from Mr. Vallo's phone after the fact. This report that I incorporates only the locations logged by the device. There's other data on the phone that I don't address here.
And then you referred to the evidence item of the CH131035-001.
Yes.
And that's impound number for that cell phone.
Yes, that's the Chandler PDSI number for that particular device from which the data was extracted. I mentioned some of this earlier, but again, I have it on the screen here representing that these are location data expressed as latitude-longitude pairs, as you would see in many other circumstances. Any given device may log them more frequently or less frequently, but we can examine the phone and see if they are present. And then for the data point marker, if you would click advance once, when it's represented on the screen, it's going to be represented as a dot with no particular radius, because the way that the device stored the location, it provides a latitude and a longitude, but it doesn't make any assertion as to what the error rate on that is. It just says, here's the latitude and longitude that the device recorded on this date at this time. As we go through and we're looking at location data inferred from cell site connections, you will see pins on the map, and they're color coded because one of the easier ways for people to tell which thing we're looking at is what color it is. So you saw in the last slide, I had assigned the GPS location data the color of red. It's just as an arbitrary assignment. And then we have blue for one of the phone numbers attributed to Lori Vallo. We have purple for one of the other phone numbers attributed to Lori Vallo. We have green for the number attributed to Alex Cox. When you see these, those will be what they're associated with. And also, because that can be hard to remember, each slide that represents those records will have tabs up at the top to remind people of
They were just teasing us. Clearly.
We can advance, I think. This shape that you will see when we're dealing with cell site connections, this is a visual representation of what the estimated coverage area of a particular cell site would look like if you were above it looking down. So there's the way that the records are stored and the way that they're returned to us by the cell phone providers. They will indicate a date and a time a connection was made. They'll give sufficient information to identify the tower to which it connected and also the face of the tower. So cell phone towers have multiple faces that a device could connect to, and that's going to indicate a direction generally. And then one can estimate what the coverage area of that face of the tower might be, and that's represented on the map as an estimate of the device's likely location area.
So when we're talking about the cell phone itself giving you the GPS location, is that more specific than this cell tower data that you're receiving from the providers like Verizon and T-Mobile?
Yeah, so there's there's a distinction between precision and accuracy, right? So precision is how precisely the thing is defined. So what area? So when the GPS location data says this exact latitude and longitude to some number of decimal places was logged at this time, that's very precise. That doesn't mean it has to be very accurate, but it does mean it's quite precise. What you will see when these devices are connecting to cell towers is you're going to see relatively large areas where the device is inferred to have been. It likely was in that area. This is different because the device didn't record this location. The provider recorded that on this date, at this time, this mobile device connected to this tower on this face, and we know or are able to determine the approximate coverage areas of those towers. But it's not more precise than that. It's a much more general area. This is another representation of that shape. So this shape is derived by people in the industry by testing the way that these antennas work in what's called an anechoic chamber, which is a fancy word for a room that's designed to reduce the interference with the propagation of radio waves. So if this represents what a coverage area might look like under lab conditions, one thing to keep in mind is that the real world basically never mirrors lab conditions. This is an estimated area where you would expect an antenna to likely have coverage, and that's what it's represented for. And then if you click forward, it just shows the direction the antenna face with pointing. If you are looking at one of these shapes on the map, then that center line is what's known as the azimuth, which is essentially just the angle at which that face of the tower was recorded to have been facing.
So you're not able to tell us within this area where the cell phone may have been located?
Not without a different type of data or a separate corroboration. It's to say that the likely coverage area where the device likely was is somewhere in that red shaded area.
And so when you talked about trying to use other sources to verify this, we talked about Charles Vallow's phone and looking at the GPS data, for instance, with the Walgreens. Are you doing the same thing with the cell tower?
Yes, that's correct. It's with any of the data that we're given that asserts to represent the location of a person or of a device. One of the first things one wants to ask is, okay, well, how reliable is that? And what ways can we determine if it's reliable? And so in all instances, I'm looking to see other corroboration that that location data appears to be accurate. This is an example of what the mapping will look like that you'll see throughout this. So this is just a section taken from a slide that was generated, and I put it up front so you can see in advance what it's likely to look like at different points. So if you click forward, this is going to represent in Google Earth Pro, they have this timeline slider bar that allows one to interact with what time it is. So up top, that should be visible, and there'll also be notation, and it'll show approximately when the events depicted on the screen took place, and it'll be a range. It can be widened or narrowed as needed. And if you'll click forward. So as we just discussed, the estimated location for the device ending 9120 would be somewhere in that green shaded area. And if you'll click forward, the iPhone, which was recording its locations as pinpoints, those are all expanded out, but you see how the lines all draw to the same approximate place. That means that for a period of time, it was in a same location, and when one clicks on it, they all balloon out to show that they're all tied back to that same place. So you would expect the iPhone to be in the area where those all tie together. And if one zooms in, you get a more precise look at that. And then if you click forward, then the estimated location for 5452, somewhere in the lavender shaded area, you'll notice that they're sized differently. This size is an estimate based on cell phone tower density. It can vary by provider, and it can vary by the area, because as a general rule, cell phones seek the strongest connection that they have available to them. So when the device connects to the tower, that tower's area may be greater if there is less density of cell towers around, and it may be smaller if there's more density. And then the last thing is a reminder of what those tabs up top are for. Those are just to help a viewer keep track of what they're seeing on the screen.
Right. You told us that you mapped just July 11th of 2019, correct?
Correct.
I feel like something big might happen.
So this animation is showing location data derived from the cell phones. You'll see the tab up top reminding you what the color coding means. And it shows the True by Hilton 1950 South Santan Village Parkway, and that the location data is in that area in the early morning hours and also in a few areas nearby, but then returns to that area.
Did she go to Charles's hotel after he was unalived? I happen to.
So we're looking, you have 716, Charles' iPhone is in the area of the True Hilton. So this is AM, correct?
Yeah, so it's, and forgive me, I'm gonna use military time because it's what we do, but 0000 is midnight through 716. This animation covers that range of time, and it's playing through what the locations do as one scrolls through that time, including that they end and the True by Hilton. These can be somewhat graphically intensive.
Okay.
That looks like a storm surge.
So as you're continuing through the morning, you continue mapping the GPS of Charles's phone?
Yes, so we may need a different machine.
We need to what?
A different machine.
I think it would be the same reason she had Charles's phone to begin with.
Okay, this time frame that you saw depicted partially is showing that from 716 to 731, all the individual recorded locations describe a path, and that path leads from the True Hilton along major roadways generally, and then comes at around 731 to the area 5531 South Four Peaks Place. And then it goes slightly past that to 737, which marks the last outgoing communication sent by the device before the shooting is known to have occurred.
We'll keep trying this one, and if it messed up again, I'll switch to the other one.
All right.
So just so we know, when was the 911 call?
The 911 call was at 8:36.
So at 7:37, you see the last outgoing communication. That's a text message sent by the phone?
Correct. This is advancing from 737 to 749 and showing those various location hits in the general area of the Four Peaks Place house. And then at about 750, which as it notes is 45 minutes before the call would be made to 911, the device leaves the area. And then it zooms out and it shows that it is 7:52, which is about 43 minutes before the call will be made to 911. The device associated with Alex Cox, specifically the 9120 device, makes an outgoing call to the 9562 device associated with Ms. Lori Vallow.
All right, so we see the little house icon is the residence where the shooting occurred, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we see Lori Vallow's phone at this point at 9:52 utilizing a cell tower that is overlaps some, but it appears to be away from the residence.
Yes, so the pin is the location of the cell tower that is being connected to
literally
in each of these cases. So yes, one would notice that the cell tower being serviced for Ms. Vallow's device is a bit farther to the north in this case.
And then you said that there is a call from Alex Cox's cell phone to Lori Vallow's cell phone?
That's correct.
You would think he would have been using that time to call 911.
So we've added on the map the location of the Burger King at 2865 East Ocotillo Road, and you can see the red dots again representing the GPS locations from Charles Vallow's phone, arriving at around that time. So we're looking from 7:53 to 7:56, and the device is at or near where that Burger King is located.
And so when you went to Burger King, let me ask this. The prior
Thank you for the follow.
map that we saw, did that cell tower cover the area of where this Burger King was or is?
It may have. The thing is, all these locations are estimates, so it's in the area. It likely covered it, yes.
Did you then utilize that video that we talked about to confirm that Charles Vallow's phone showing in this area appeared to match the SUV as well as Ms. Vallow being there?
Yes, it appears to match this visit to the Burger King, which we are now seeing. This is the video that I recovered from the Burger King.
All right, so this was a video that, so you could identify the vehicle and at least see the license plate on that?
Correct.
And as you watched it, this one doesn't depict the, or you can't see the driver on this video, right?
Right, there's another view coming up.
Okay. So this one just shows us hands going in and out?
It does. It shows the view showing the vehicle. This is one of the views that they have of their drive-through.
So if we forward to the next slide,
Yes,
we will see from the inside the service of.
correct. So this is their drive-through window view. Again at 7:54.
Good old Lori. Bless you, person in the courtroom. She took her son there because their adopted son wanted chicken fries. Hi, Kathleen.
And so did this appear to match the receipt that you had received?
This did appear to match the receipt, and this I was told as well, and that document was associated with this transaction.
7:55.
Time matched up as well as what they appear to be purchasing
Correct.
in the video.
Correct.
Now, in this video, were you able to see if there was someone in the back seat?
I can't particularly tell if there's someone in the back seat.
So you could tell there was a passenger, though.
Front seat passenger, yes.
Where are you going with this, ma'am?
Right, so we see the vehicle pulling away. It's almost 7:56 according to their timestamp. We can now advance. This video as well is going to show at about 7:56 as the vehicle leaves from that view at the drive-through.
Me too. Oh, I'm confused too.
So again, we're seeing that the times that are documented on Charles's phone seem to appear with what you're looking at from other independent sources.
That's correct.
It can't be seen. They can't see in the back seat.
So here we have the location data from Mr. Vallow's iPhone is now moving north. You see those few hits that are rendered in red. That's from 7:56 to 8:06. So that's the time that the vehicle just left and going forward 10 minutes. And then at 8:06, there is this outgoing call from Alex Cox's device to Lori Vallow's device. And you can see the service area for Ms. Vallow's device has also moved north to an area that covers the same area where you see those red data points for Mr. Vallow's iPhone.
So now it's clear that from the mapping that Charles Vallow's phone, the GPS data appears to be in the general area of where Lori Vallow's cell phone is utilizing a cell tower.
That's correct.
And
yes, it is right
Alex
after.
Cox's phone appears to be utilizing a cell tower in the area of the residence at 5531 South Four Peaks.
That's correct.
Then we have a phone call at 8:06. At this time, has 911 been called?
Nope.
Listen to this.
This location data now goes to an area where there is a Walgreens in Chandler. This is, again, location data from Mr. Vallow's phone. And then it goes north and west to a different Walgreens. This Walgreens at 785 South Cooper Road is the one from which I eventually obtained video. And we see it's arriving around 8:16 in the morning.
Did you go to that other Walgreens?
I did not go to that other Walgreens.
Did you call them?
I did not.
So you picked the right one. You called this Walgreens. Were you able to see that the phone was there for a while?
Yes.
And did that give you a clue that this was the Walgreens that might have some relevant information?
More likely, correct.
So we see those red dots again identified as Charles Vallow's iPhone, the GPS data that was extracted from it. And we see that his phone is in that area around 8:08.
Charles was.
Well, it moves to that area.
Charles had made plans to go there that morning to pick up JJ and drive him to school. Everything that Lori's now doing is what Charles was going to do. Take JJ to get chicken fries and then take him to school.
Okay, so at 8:08, it was at the one on Lindsay. And then from 8:08 to 8:17, it moves up to the one on Cooper. And that's where we are now, is at around 8:17.
She has his phone.
That from the up on the left-hand corner.
The slider up top. Yep.
Okay. So then you went to that Walgreens after you confirmed and you obtained video from them?
That's right.
And is this the video?
This is the video. You can see the timestamp at 8:16 as she walks in.
You and me both.
And then I think we can advance to the next. So these are just multiple views that they had. The video at the door was motion activated, so I don't control when it starts or ends. Those are the clips that they had.
I thought it was no shoes, no service. She didn't have shoes, she said.
So she's buying 2 pairs of flip-flops.
As indicated in the receipt. You'll see on their timestamp we're now up to 8:20 and the transaction is completed. Yeah, I think we can go to the next slide. All right, so this shows now a time span from 8:17 to 8:33. You see that the next location hits move over to Lawrence Life Academy at 8:33 at 1305 South Gilbert Road. So this is a couple minutes before the 911 call. And then we see the 911 call depicted in that coverage area in the green towards the bottom of the screen. And it shows 8:35 and 54 seconds is when the outgoing 911 call is placed. It shows that number there to 911, indicating that the call is outgoing from the 9120 number associated with Mr. Alex Cox. And the last location data that we see in this time span for Mr. Vallow's iPhone is up by the Gilbert and Ray area.
So where we see that red dot is where Lawrence Life Academy is, or in the general area of that.
Correct.
And then we see that still back at the residence at 5531 South Four Peaks is Alex Cox's cell phone, and this is when he finally makes the 911 call at 8:35.
That's correct. This is an excerpt from the Chandler Police Department's CAD report in this manner, showing the call received and connected at 8:36 and 21 seconds. And this is specifically relative to this case. You can see our report number in the first line of text entered by the call taker.
And is that, again, to verify that phone call you're seeing occurring on Alex Cox's phone records matches up with what is being received?
Exactly. And then here at 8:49, we would see, looking at the location data on Mr. Vallo's phone, it's moving south, and that it's about at 8:49 that it arrives in the neighborhood at 5531 South Fort Peaks Place, rather, and specifically on that street. So just looking at the data, you would expect the device has now arrived in the area of the house at about 8:49.
Now, you told us that this GPS data, that you have no control over when a phone is documenting that. So it's not like every minute or every 5 minutes that it does that.
Correct.
You're just given the data you're given. That's when it marked again that where it was.
Correct.
Did you then, again, to try to confirm that this is, in fact, his phone is back in the area by looking to body cam footage to show the arrival of Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan?
Correct. So one way of corroborating if the device is traveling with her and if it arrives at about the same time. Our body cameras are all time stamped. The officer happened to be wearing his upside down, so I'll fix that for you in a moment on this slide, but you can see the timestamp there. And if we advance, I highlight a couple of things about this slide. I highlight the sandals. I invert the timestamp so you can read it properly, and I do the conversion because it's in Zulu time, which is Greenwich Mean Time, which is always 7 hours ahead of Arizona. So you have to do a little conversion to get to 8:48 in the morning.
So that, again, matches with the GPS data from Charles Vallow's phone showing that his phone was now back on scene.
Correct.
Now, you continued to track the phone for the day.
Yes, so this shows a time span 8:49 to 9. The phone is near the Fort Peaks house, as was Alex Cox's device. Advancing a little bit, we see that now Alex's device is up in the area of the Chandler Police Department, and another way that I can check that that appears to be accurate is that I know that he was transported there at about that time.
All right, so we saw, before this went purple, that Lori Vallow's cell phone and Alex Cox's cell phone were in the area of the 5531 South Fort Peaks.
Yes.
Along with Charles's iPhone.
Yes.
And then we see a movement of Alex's phone to the Chandler Police Department.
Yes, that area where it was at the end of the slide before the animation overpowered the machine was showing a coverage area that includes the Chandler Police Department.
Mila.
So what are we seeing here then?
Okay, this is just advancing forward through the day, so showing that if you go to the noon hour, then between 12:13 and 12:36, the device moves up to an area by Santan Village Parkway in the 202. And then there is a tower connection with Ms. Vallow's device ending in 9562, showing that device is also in an area served by that tower.
So in this time frame then of 12:30,
investigator
received both Charles Vallow's cell phone GPS data and Lori Vallow's cell phone utilizing a cell tower in the area of Santan.
Yes, that's right. This is again showing the trail of those location data points moving forward in time as Charles Vallow's device is moving roughly east. And you can see also connections made by Lori Vallow's phone and by Alex Cox's phone in similar areas at similar times.
Tell us where they went then.
Until we get to a point where the device arrives at this house at 1658 East Shari Street in Santan, which I understand to be Mr. Alex Cox's residence at the time.
Right, so address of 1658 East Shari Street in Santan was Mr. Cox's residence. And now at 1:40 or so, 1:30 to 1:40, we're talking about Charles Vallow's phone sending GPS data that it's in that area.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
So now looking at 1342 to 1407, so that's 142 to 2:07 p.m. You see multiple tower hits from both of Lori's devices, and you also see persistent GPS location data from Mr. Vallow's device in that same area. Specifically, this call that you're seeing now in the lavender is known to be a call made to Detective Inkland's desk phone.
So we have Lori Vallow in the area of utilizing a cell tower in the area of her brother Alex's house, along with Charles Vallow's iPhone being in that area of his house.
Correct.
She looked pretty
And then
calm.
we see a call to Detective Inkland's desk phone by Ms. Vallow.
That's correct.
And were you aware that Detective Inkland had called Lori to ask them to return to the scene?
I was aware of that.
Were you actually at the scene?
At that time, I don't think so.
You were there earlier.
That's correct.
Thank you, Joanne. For the love of God, tell us if they went to the hotel,
No, I'm
please.
going to correct that. I was there at that time.
You were still at the
I
scene?
was still at the scene at that time, yes.
2 o'clock.
Yes.
All right, so this next map or slide that we see, what is this time frame we're seeing?
Okay, so this advances just a little bit. So it's 1409 to 1418. Again, we still see red location hits for Mr. Vallow's iPhone. We still see blue for Ms. Vallow's 9562 number. And we see this lavender one come up for her 5452 number. It's an outgoing call to a particular phone number that I know to be associated with the Valley of the Sun mortuary. If you advance to the next slide. Oh, now you can advance. I was just highlighting the number. This is that same number on their website.
So at 2:18, Lori Vallow is calling the Valley of the Sun mortuary.
Yes.
You really gonna make that call within a couple hours?
So here we advance this area. This is going up closer to 243. You'll see location data for the iPhone starts trending westward and is eventually going to arrive again in the area of 5531 South Four Peaks. That's at about 3:11 p.m. when it arrives in that area.
Now,
Oh yeah, absolutely, Crystal.
you indicate in one of the icons up there that from 209 to 243 or 1409 to 1443, that you also had noted Lori's, both of her phones associated with her, the Verizon and T-Mobile, as well as Alex's Verizon phone, were initially in the area of Alex's house in Santan. And that sort of throughout that time period, you're saying?
Correct.
And then we see initially Charles's GPS coming back to the residence at 5531 South Fort Peaks and arriving there around 2:43.
Arriving there around 3:11. Yep, correct.
So we know that because we have to again look at the slide up at the top. That's when it arrives there.
Correct.
Ma'am, will you
After
just
that,
show us
did you
the
become
evidence,
aware
please?
that Charles Vallow's cell phone was handed over to Detective Inkland
I did.
and then presented to someone later in your forensics unit to download, extract, so that you could use it for instance, this.
Correct. It was assigned that item number I listed earlier in the report, and then it was submitted for extraction, and that's how I eventually obtained that location data that you've just seen.
Did you look at any other days to do GPS data?
I did not.
was this day looked at because you were trying to see what was going on with both Miss Vallow, Alex Cox, as well as Charles, and later just his phone?
Yes, specifically, we initially had concerns about the timeline I was initially asked to look at, and I looked at it at that time, noting those issues, which led to recovery of video and things. Is not primarily my case. I was as it's not primarily my case. Beyond that, I would have done whatever else I was.
No idea what just happened there, but something happened in the courtroom that I believe it was the device that they were being told, shut it off or get out.
Asked to do, but I wasn't asked to look at other days in this case.
So ultimately, your what you determined was that the timeline of Lori Vallow leaving when the 911 call was and returning back was not accurate.
Yes, as I understood, based on, again, the multiple different ways now that we're able to corroborate location not only of devices that are relevant, because we knew at this point that she had Charles's phone, we knew numbers for her phones, we have video of her at various places. It led to the inescapable conclusion that either the shooting did not happen that close in time to the 911 call, or that she wasn't there for the shooting. I could not see a third way of interpreting that data.
Thank you. I have no other questions for this witness.
Hold on.
All right, cross.
Alex Cox, as well as Charles, and later just his phone.
Lisa.
Yes, specifically, we initially had concerns about the timeline I was initially asked to look at, and I looked at it at that time, noting those issues, which led to recovery of video and things. Is not primarily my case. I was as it's not primarily my case. Beyond that, I would have done whatever else I was asked to do, but I wasn't asked to look at other days in this case.
So ultimately, your what you determined was that the timeline of Lori Vallow leaving when the 911 call was and returning back was not accurate.
Yes, as I understood, based on, again, the multiple different ways now that we're able to corroborate location not only of devices that are relevant, because we knew at this point that she had Charles's phone, we knew numbers for her phones, we have video of her at various places. It led to the inescapable conclusion that either the shooting did not happen that close in time to the 911 call, or that she wasn't there for the shooting. I could not see a third way of interpreting that data.
Thank you. I have no other questions for this witness.
All right, cross.
She's gonna ask questions? How could she follow up with that?
Detective Werther, you had submitted a report on 12/26/2019, is that correct?
That sounds correct.
And have you had a chance to review that at all before your testimony?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Teresa.
So, you found some interestingly contrasting things in your report that you reported on that date. You made a note of his daily text message of love and devotion to me. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Okay.
Stay safe. I'll put the live up after we're done. This is the last witness of the day.
Then you also made a note of his interactions with women he was attempting to date. Is that correct?
I do remember that.
Okay. Detective Werther, in your report on page 103, you indicate that Charles went to the airport to meet Florence Hughes and found that she never boarded. Is that correct?
Object to relevance.
The hell?
What's the relevance of that?
It's just in his report, Your Honor, and I was just going over it to see if.
Well, everything in a police report isn't necessarily relevant. Well, how's it relevant to this case?
It's relevant to show what was going on in this, right before this happened. These events happened within June and July.
All right, it's the objection sustained.
Did you learn who Florence Hughes was?
I'm going to object again to relevance.
Sustained.
Isn't that somebody famous? She's looking for the
In
other
your
lady
report,
friends.
Detective, you find evidence that Charles did in fact send someone $1,000.
I object to relevance again.
Sustained.
I would object to relevance to all of these types of questions.
Me too. I object too.
When you had, what was your role in going through the data from the phone, from my husband's phone?
So primarily I went through the location data because of the concerns we had about timeline. I know I went through other data associated with other accounts, but I don't believe I specifically went through the phone extraction outside of the location data.
Okay. But in your report, you made a lot of notes to these things, but that wasn't what you were looking for? You just happened upon it? How did that happen?
So there are things found, I think many of those may be related to a Google account. And yes, as certain things were being accomplished as a team, sometimes you'll task out and say, would you look through this to see what you find that may be relevant? And it isn't always clear up front in an investigation what's going to be relevant. So when I see communications between people without knowing the full story, particularly when I'm not the primary case agent, I may note things because I want to make sure the case agent knows of them so he or she can decide if that's a thing that needs to be pursued further. And if they think it is, then they can ask me or someone else, or they can do it themselves. But that would be why some of those things are documented.
Okay. And you wrote them in your report because you thought they might be relevant?
Yes, not knowing the full case, I noted things like that that may be relevant.
And that would need to go to the case agent so he could decide if those were relevant or not as well?
Correct. The case agent has much fuller information, particularly as a long-term investigation goes on. As somebody who's just helping out with certain tasks, it's not always obvious to you what things are going to be relevant to the person who knows the entirety of the case.
Do you see her just go?
So you mentioned in your report that on July 10th, there was a scheduled phone date with Nancy Jo Hancock, is that correct?
Get over it.
I think I did indicate that in my report, yes.
Okay.
Desiree, you came in at the right time. They're going through Charles's phone, and she's brought up none other than Nancy Jo Hancock. Don't flatter yourself, Lori.
And then on the next day, there was another date scheduled with a Jennifer Gilbert at 12 o'clock.
Hi, Peachy.
That sounds correct.
Are we making a list?
And then the next day, there was another date scheduled with a Juliet at 10 a.m.
And obviously trying to smear the victim.
100%. Desiree, we got new
Detective,
stickers.
Did you find searches for these dates for my husband back to...
Hold on. Sustained.
This is a different question, Your Honor.
When they object, you have to shut up.
Scheduled is not relevant to this case. Ask another question.
Or sit the hell down.
You can ask about the date of the person that testified the night before because that person was in here and had some relevant information. But other than that, any of these other questions are not relevant.
Detective, you talked about going with Detective Moffat to the hotel room where you found my husband's laptop. Is that correct?
That's right.
Ma'am, your husband is Charles Daybell. Get it straight.
And was also his iPad in there?
Wait, did I just say Charles Daybell? My sass can't even keep up with myself. Chad Daybell.
And then you said some suitcases?
Correct.
maybe his briefcase was like a rolling suitcase?
That's making it to bloopers.
We may be describing the same thing differently. I didn't personally inventory the items. I helped to package them and take them back to the station.
Okay.
I know, right?
So when you got there, does that stuff go in evidence bags? I mean, how does that work when you got to the hotel room? Can you walk us through that?
Sure, there are different ways that one could do it. Pardon me. If the crime had occurred at the hotel room, it might be done in a different way. In this case, just clearing out someone's hotel room instead of unpacking everything there and searching through all of it in the hotel room and then repacking it all there. Sometimes it's much more appropriate to take the items as they are, seal them up, take them back to the station and impound them where they can be dealt with later as needed. So that's what we did in this case.
If you're Lori and you go based off what Lori says, they're both going to be exonerated any day now.
And then so with the electronic devices, were they off already or were they on? How did that work out?
I didn't check the condition of them, but I also didn't alter the condition of them.
So nobody got on there and opened it up or anything to see if it was powered on or not?
I did not do that.
Okay. And it was just you and Detective Moffat in there, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So after you collect all those things and then you take them with you to go to evidence, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And so how long about do you think that you were there at that hotel room?
I no longer recall exactly how long we were there.
And then,
seriously, Halsey? Because she was in some beauty pageants too.
is someone documenting that? Like as you're putting together things, someone's writing down what that is? What you're taking?
Oh, writing down what the items are, yes. So we do document what the items are that we're taking, typically by at the station entering that into our report management system where they're assigned numbers like the one that you saw for the cell phone earlier. And then an evidence continuity begins when they're submitted to the property and evidence unit.
And then, was there anything left in there that wasn't taken? I mean, just kind of clear out all of his things?
Anything left in the room?
Correct.
I do not believe we left anything in the room.
Okay.
What good is it going to do you
So
in
then
prison?
all of the things were taken into custody and that was the end of your association with them?
That's right.
Okay. But you were instrumental in delivering them, is that correct?
Yes, I assisted in packaging and delivering them, yes.
And that was just you and Detective Moffat?
Yes, that's right.
In the course of your investigation, Detective, did you become aware of the $2 million life insurance policy Charles had on me?
I'm not aware of that.
Not everyone's always up in your mind, Lori.
In the course of your investigation with my husband's phone,
I'll Google it when we're done.
did you come across the threatening text messages from him to me?
I don't believe I saw text message content from his phone. From the phone, I restricted what I was looking at to the location data I had been given. So I'm not aware of contents of the phone.
Okay.
Nice try.
And then, Detective, what was your role back at the house at Four Peaks Place? Approximately what time did you arrive and then leave the scene?
I arrived, it's indicated in my report, and I wouldn't want to hazard a guess because I don't recall, but I remained at the scene essentially, as mentioned, to shadow and observe the way these investigations are conducted. I know I was still there when the medical examiner arrived. I know I was still there when Mr. Cox came back, but exactly what time I left, I do not know.
Okay. And you mentioned you were shadowing Detective Kuntz, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you stay with him the whole time?
Yes.
And so you just kind of helped him doing what he was doing?
Yes, and I'm not confident how much I was there helping as much as observing. I didn't actually perform any particular tasks while I was there because, again, I was not on the team yet.
So you were observing mostly?
Mostly.
And then did you take notes while you were observing or just
I did not.
physical with the eyes?
Okay. Yeah, just there to observe, yeah.
Okay.
Where this goes,
You had
nobody
mentioned
knows.
that you had called me on July 12th, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And that I had told you that I had when you asked me about information about JJ's school, I gave that to you, correct?
Correct.
And then I told you that I had the hotel key, is that correct?
Correct.
And you indicated that you'd send someone over to pick it up.
Well, yes,
Correct.
I said I would check with the case agent, and that's probably what would happen.
And then, so did you contact Detective Moffett and discuss that with him?
I did.
And then he sent you over to the house to get it?
Well, we agreed to go together. Oh, to the house, I'm sorry.
Oh, to come pick up the card key?
Yes, I think we agreed that I would go do that, yes.
Okay, what about time was that? Was that on the 12th?
It was on the 12th, it's in my report, I think it was the 2 o'clock hour.
Okay. And then you weren't with Detective Moffett at that time?
I was not.
And then when did you guys actually go to the hotel to pick up that stuff?
We went right after that.
Oh, it was immediate?
Yes.
Unless it's to another woman's husband's bed. She lands there just fine. That's what I'm thinking too, Kelly. I'll be here all week.
How long, Detective, did you analyze all this data before you did your report?
Well, that could be a complicated question because initially I only looked at the location data I'd been provided. And initially we were only dealing with location data from Mr. Vala's phone. And then I wasn't heavily involved in the investigation after that point. As I recall, I was actually out of town some, and so I wasn't heavily involved. And then if you advance to some years later when I had learned more how to interpret cell phone records, and those cell phone records still existed, I was asked to look at them and to incorporate them into an overall analysis. So that now we're talking about something that occurred several years later.
I agree.
And the exact amount of time I spent doing that, I don't know exactly how long that would have been. I still did restrict my analysis to just that one calendar day.
In the first place, and then you got more data later?
I know there is more data, but I have not gone through and done a thorough analysis of all of the data that has been assembled over the course of whatever
so
time
too,
frame
Ryan.
has been determined to be relevant in this case. I was asked to look at the day of the event.
Okay. But you had other data in this report that was dated 12/26, is that correct?
Yeah, that seems right.
How long before that 12/26 report did you spend compiling data? That's kind of my question, like weeks or months or just a few days?
I'm not sure I fully understand that question. So if this is what you're asking, when you write, for example, a search warrant to an internet service provider, let's say for somebody's Google or for something similar to that, once you send that, you just have to wait. And at some point they give it back to you. And then once they give it back to you, you go through it and you see what's contained in that. You save it to the side as evidence, and then you create a copy so you can go through that. And that's what I did. The amount of time I spent doing that, that's not something that we log.
Okay. But your report goes from, I guess, beats page 88 to 105, so about 8 pages worth of data, yeah? Say?
I'm not sure, is that a question?
Or maybe it was even longer.
Best response ever.
Did you go to Lauren's Life Academy at any point?
I did not.
And were you able to identify JJ in the front seat of the car at the Burger King?
I wouldn't say that I can definitely identify him.
But you indicate possible juvenile with short dark hair in front passenger seat. Is that correct?
That's what I was able to see on the video.
Okay.
Right? I was thinking the same thing. Maybe we should get a sticker, make a sticker that says fail. For all the times that she doesn't get to make a point.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, redirect.
Epic fail, you're right. I think that's better. The okays are driving me crazy.
When you went to the True Hilton Hotel and picked up all of Charles Vallow's personal property, did you ever review anything from his laptop? Were you provided with extractions from his laptop that you reviewed?
I think I was at one point provided that, yes.
Did you use any of that data from the laptop in creating your PowerPoint?
No.
Did you review anything, any extractions from his iPad?
I don't believe I reviewed the iPad.
So obviously, did you use that in your PowerPoint?
No.
In your understanding, why were you only asked to look at the day of July 11th of 2019?
My understanding specifically was because we were looking at the very significant to us fact that the timelines that we had been told appeared to be inaccurate. The purpose of what I looked at was to examine whether that inaccuracy was supported by or refuted by various different types of location data, video data, other evidence. And again, that's specifically what I looked at is, does it appear that this device, as I had been told, was actually traveling with Miss Vallow? Or does it not appear to be the case? And doesn't matter to me what the outcome was, but as you can see, there are indications that it was. Beyond that, if someone had asked me, oh, well, now there's some relevant question we want you to look at an expanded timeline for, I would have been happy to do so. But I was not asked to do that in this case.
So were you trying to determine whether or not it was accurate if you had not or been advised that the shooting occurred just before 911 was called?
Correct.
And did what you learned match up with that?
No, again, as I said, I will say that the device has clearly departed the scene well before the 911 call and does not return until after the 911 call. The distances make it entirely implausible that the device went all that way that quickly, plus the timestamps are logged prior to the event. And so again, I could see only two possible interpretations. Either the shooting happened much earlier than we were told, or the device and the person bearing it, which I understand to be Ms. Vallow, left well before the shooting occurred. I don't see a third option.
Thank you. No other questions?
Are there any questions for this witness from any member of the jury? I don't see any. Sir, you can step down.
Thank you.
All right, members of the jury, I've been informed that a witness that was scheduled for this afternoon has become ill and would not be able to appear this afternoon. So we're going to break early for the day. The schedule for the rest of the week will be 10:30 to 4:30 for Wednesday and Thursday. So plan on 10:30 to 4:30 for both of those days.
So 12:30 Central
You're free to
Time.
go for the rest of the day. Please remember the admonition. We'll see you tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
Whew. What do you guys think? How did today go? She was currently, she was trying to get somewhere, but she fell really short in my opinion. Yeah, I wouldn't ask anything about the phone locations, especially if I took his phone. So yeah, they're done for the day.
Anything else before we recess from the state?
Nothing from the state.
Damn it.
From the defense?
I can't think of anything, Your Honor.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 10:30.
That's what I was waiting to hear. So they're dismissed for the day. What are your guys' thoughts when you hear all the different locations? And you hear that 911 wasn't called for 47 minutes. She thinks she's a gift to everybody else. She really is, in my opinion as well. I think you might be closer to the truth than any of us there with waiting for him to pass. It's a sad thing to have to think that way, but here we are. Okay, I'm going to take off my frowny. We got a frowny on for like an hour. I don't know, guys. I don't think this is working out how she thought it would. All right, guys. So since they've dismissed early, I'm going to do the same. I need a nap. After I eat, I'm going to take a nap. And we'll be back here bright and early tomorrow. Well, not early, it's afternoon. I do too, Danielle. I do too. Love you too. Have a good night, guys. Stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.